Good evening. How we doing, people? You alright? Well, it was late advertising it being there, but cheers if you're there watching anyway. Right, there am I. I'm just going to talk about a couple of different topics tonight. Obviously, laughing at the globe nonsense, so bear with my wee second here. Aye, first and foremost, if anybody's new to this and they're watching, I have to go through this every time because there are so many people with a skewed idea of what flat earth means, and that is deliberate. That is done through your programming from your culture and your school and media, whatever else. Flat earth is an investigation into the dimensions of our reality. Our reality is an objective thing, for anybody who doesn't know that. That's what science is based on. Every single person is the scientist. You have been a scientist since the very moment you were born, and you started to work the faculties, how you work your body and how you look through your eyes, hear, smell, taste, touch. Science, the science that I base things on and the science that it should be basing things on is substance. We look at reality and we find out how things work based on the substance, not based on theoretical ideas or visuals. Okay, there's a huge difference. So before I even go there, just to remind people, flat earth is an investigation. You do not come here with a straw man. You don't come here with a cartoon map and model and ask people here to represent it and answer your questions. Leave that to the globe cult sophists. That is their job, their duty. And we have heard that over and over so many times from these people that it is fucking boring now. Okay, there is no debate. The objective reality that you're in is not up for debate. It's very, very simple. People making claims about objective reality have a burden of proof. That means they have to show things practically, whatever their claim might be. Right? So language does not substitute the substance, neither does plastic model representations of the thing you're claiming true. So that means when somebody is telling you you live on a rock, flying through a vacuum with gas and water clinging to it, flying at untold speeds around a gas ball of fire, they have a huge burden of proof because that is an absolutely preposterous claim to be making. I know it's difficult for you if you're new to this because you have been swayed the same as the rest of us through your upbringing, your education, and the onslaught of media and its propaganda, the bullshit that it has been pushing to you. So you've been seeing globes, you have been seeing absolute fucking clowns on wires and in pools, kidding on, they're flying about in some vacuum of space, right? There is nothing in the world in any way, shape or form of practicality that you could reference that would back up the claims that you are in a vacuum, living in a pressurized system with water sticking to it and conforming to the exterior of it. Right? Absolutely nothing. Right? Everything in practicality will tell you that the Earth must be some sort of contained level system. You know that because it is filled with liquid and it is pressurized. So in order to, pressurize anything, you first need some sort of container. Now that doesn't mean that I'm claiming we are sealed in, like some sort of dome or whatever it may be. But there has to be something maintaining and holding the pressure. If somebody is going to claim to you that there's another medium beyond the medium that you exist in, i.e. the pressurized gaseous environment, if somebody claims to you there is water beyond it, or you're surrounded by water, or you're surrounded by a vacuum or whatever else, not only do they have the burden of proof on them, You know, when we look at the globe bollocks, it is trying to claim that you live in this pressurised system next to a vacuum without any sort of separation, without a solid barrier between the two. Now, if you're any sort of tradesman out there or any kind of hands-on practical person, you will know that these simple claims are absolute fucking bollocks. Right? That's it. That's what real science is. Real science is based on practicality, based in substance. It's how we figure out the world. It's how we progress. We create technologies and we make things useful. Right? So, examples. I went over to an absolute shit show today. I was curious because I have seen it arising, and I had suspicions about what the actual motive for it was, and my suspicions were confirmed today because I clicked to go in, and what I wanted to see was how they would react, and my predictions again were right. As soon as I was in, we had 3 or 4 of them in, just talking over the top, because they know anybody who can articulate the truth and anybody who can stand up to the sophistry is a real threat to them. So they automatically resort to underhanded tactics. So the channel that I'm referencing here is a chap called Nathan Oakley. He is a character who is desperate for attention. He is in no way, shape or form interested in the severity of our situation. The guy is an egotistical arsewipe who only wants notoriety on social media. So a monetized channel, and he wants attention. So he is now facilitating a shit show that is allowing these globe sophists to come in and spew their utter lunacy with no intervention, although this chap is claiming that he's doing it to be a moderator, but his requirement is you do not swear. So swearing is out the window, but people who are coming from a religious cult can come in and spew sophistry with no resistance whatsoever. And while they're at it, they can talk over the top of anybody who can articulate and combat their utter bullshit. So they don't want that, they don't allow it. So if you're paying attention to this, I encourage you not to pay any attention to it. These people are fucking morons. Right? They refer to each other as droogies. And they think nobody knows, and they think nobody's watching. Right? They fashion themselves, you know. There's a connection to this Bullingdon Club, right? And these fucking morons fashion themselves on Clockwork Orange, right? They think that these are the types of characters there, and they're fanatical, brainwashed lunacy, right? There is a definite connection with these muppets to this Bullingdon Club, this fraternity of Oxford University. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check it out for yourself. Now, these morons are in connection together. This chap, Nathan Oakley, if he was interested in the severity of the situation, the truth of the matter, he would not be facilitating these fucking muppets. This is an open platform. It has been open to anybody who thinks that they can combat or provide proof for the globe, or they can combat the claims that we make here, the principles that we go by. Nobody can. There is no scientist being brought forward, no physicist, none of these people. Do you know why? Because any of these people are going to be intellectually honest. They're going to hear what we're saying and know that there is no way they're going to embarrass themselves to even try and combat it, because only sophists and muppets who are either paid or being held over a barrel through some deviant criminal behaviour would try and push this shit. Right? So if you're new, stay away from these channels. There is no debate. Objective reality is not up for debate. Anybody who's facilitating an avenue of debate is doing it purely to sow confusion amongst people and garner some attention for themselves, because that's what they're after, especially the ones with a monetized channel. So they are clambering desperately because they are irrelevant, boring dipshits. So now, they're allowing these fucking retards onto their platform, because these retards had their own platform called Earth Discussions or some other shit like that. And it's basically an echo chamber of sophists who are not interested in actual dialogue or discussion with people. They are only interested in bullying people, right? Not interested in any progress whatsoever. So it really annoys me when I see people who are allowing these things and then giving it attention. Again, people, this is not a game. This is not a celebrity game. an opportunity for people to gain celebrity status or climb the status ladder in any way, shape or form. We are in a situation of captivity, prisoners, okay, who have been subject to psychological and physical constraint, psychological programming and psychological torture, right? Because there is a plan, there is a method in place to stop us from getting up off our asses, uniting together and finding out what the fuck is going on in this world. There is more than what we think there is. They have us circled and penned in to a specific area, and there's areas you cannot go to. There is no free access to these areas. So there is no debate, okay? Science, as I say, is based in substance. The very apparatus that you're using right now to watch that is based on an understanding of substance that you can then put into practical use, okay? So if somebody comes along and tells you that paper burns metal or melts metal, you don't believe that shite, because you know, contrary to that, you know in everyday reality, that's not what happens. Okay, so when you get people telling you you're on a rock with vast oceans clinging to it, bending around it, and showing the bend on the surface of the water, you know that's preposterous. So you will get sophist nonsense like I had experience today again from absolute plastic twats like Jeremy. But how do you know the water's flat? I mean, have you measured it? The water is the measuring tool. You do not devise an instrument to measure something that is more accurate than your instrument. Okay, it's a self-evident fact of reality. Okay, if anybody is wanting to claim contrary to the facts of everyday tested, observed, practical reality, they have a burden of proof. Okay, now they have to show it practically. When you ask these people questions and you have to be specific on at what scales, at what exact size, at what exact point are we going to experience these things, or are we going to witness them, they're not going to offer you anything, right? Because they are running scared. They are cult members who are desperately trying to perpetuate this crap, right? Now I'm going to go one step further, as I always have done again, and say that they know that the time has come, this lie cannot be perpetuated. So for me, this is a slow release to gauge psychological reaction on people and how they can possibly still maintain control and contain it, right? So these dipshits that think they are still trying to argue for a globe don't even realise the bigger picture. They're just wise enough, just smart enough to carry out the tasks, but they're not smart enough to realise the game that they're involved in. Right? I see it. I know it. I don't even pity them. They're beyond pity. They're pathetic. Again, the platform is here. They're welcome anytime. Louis Hackett, Jeremy, Timmy, any other sophist bobag that's out there. You come in here, one-on-one, have rational discussion. No talking over the top of each other. If somebody is claiming to be a moderator for discussion or debate, there shouldn't be people talking over the top of each other. So that tells you right away that these people are offering a shit show, a circus, purely for their own status. It's not doing anybody any favours by, contributing money to the likes of Nathan Oakley, because people like that are not worth supporting. They're not interested in, truth for themselves, for us, or for their children. They really aren't interested. Right? It's not a fucking joke. It's not a show for them to garner what they want. This is real life reality. You need to snap out of this passive delusion that you're in, thinking that, oh, it's just a big fun ride and somebody's going to sort it out for me. That's not going to fucking happen. If you care about yourself, if you really do care about yourself, and you really do care about the ones you love, you will snap out of it. So There is no reason for me to keep going over and over why the plastic globe cartoon is nonsense. If you're any sort of intelligent adult, you should be realising that by now. All you have is a plastic toy and people telling you so, which is no good enough. You have to strip everything back. You need to remove all assumptions and beliefs from your mind. And I'm going to probably try and get through some of these tonight. Another wee topic in regards to what we call lives and things that we take for granted and assume to be fundamental parts of existence, and they're not. They're ideas that have been sold to you. Same as a globe. The globe is just purely an idea that has moulded itself into a plastic fucking model and some Hollywood graphics. That is it. Now these plastic globes and Hollywood graphics contradict the facts of reality. That's what people need to get into their skull. Right? Doesn't matter what images somebody's bringing you or videos, if they are contradicting the facts of everyday lived experience, you know there's an issue. Okay? So I don't entertain this word debate, because facts are not up for debate, only ideas can be debated. Okay? You don't debate whether or not if I pour petrol over you and set you on fire that you're going to burn. That's not a debate. That's a fact. Right? So that's the difference. And there is an objective reality there. It's not all wishy-washy happening in your mind, like this new age spiritual bullshit or this new age mathematical scientific garb. Right? It's total shit. There is an objective reality. So if you are contributing to the shit shows and the circus, then you need to take that responsibility. Things are not going to progress. Things are going to get diluted. Things are going to get drawn out. Right? And I'm not wanting this drawn out. I know the severity of the situation I'm in. Right? Nothing matters to me until I establish exactly where the fuck I am. You don't sell me ideas about life, morals, any of these fucking things until I know where the fuck I am. Anybody who's claiming otherwise, religious fundamentalists, fanatics, whatever the fuck they are, right? They have nothing. These people are invested in beliefs, they're invested in ideas, and they want to defend them, which for me is frightening. It's frightening to see the scale of that. You know, especially that I'm still getting some comments through in regards to my referencing some philosophy in regards to the Satanic Bible, which, you know, was purely to point people towards a philosophy and to understand a topic before they are affected by it, to empower themselves, not as an advocate for a particular philosophy, because my philosophy is we don't know where we are, we don't know who we are, we don't know why we are here. So I certainly ain't going to push some other philosophy that gives you an idea of life and existence and how you should conduct and behave yourself when I don't have any of that established, and neither does anybody else. Right? It's purely offering people the tools of discernment and other avenues to look at rather than being swayed by emotional triggers. Right? People have to battle through that. I had to battle through it, or else I would never have learned, I would never have progressed. Okay? But I'm still getting these fundamentalists, these fanatics, putting messages and comments up, thinking, misinterpreting what it is I'm actually saying. Right? Now, there's a Facebook page on Facebook called Flat Earthers in Christ who have been putting up videos about Big Bad Del. Big Bad Del, the devil child with his Masonic, satanic, evil tattoos. Christians, right, who do not investigate. They hear fear-mongering, propaganda, and they jump on it for whatever fucking reason. Right? So there's other aspects of this that cause division, that cause problems, that for me is really alarming. Because, you know, I'm quite jokey. I really don't take much of it seriously. And then I see these people, and it's like, fucking hell. You know, I'm hoping to, you know, find out, progress a wee bit, you know, within my lifetime and find out what the fuck is going on. But these people are just going to hold it back, right? Because they are so much in fear and insecurity, right? They just are not willing to let it go. or even look at themselves and see beyond their own warped perception of reality. They do not recognise that they have been imprinted from a young age with a doctrine, an idea, right? Whether it be the religion or a globe, or, you know, what a relationship should be, how you should conduct yourself, what relationships with other people, what a relationship with a partner's like. You know, all these things are all ideas that have been sold to you. And you really need to have a look deep in to see if they emanated from you and what it is you're partaking in, right? Because something that was instilled in you from a young age, as you get older, you've forgotten that. You start acting things out. You start yearning for certain things in your life that are based on programs that have already been put in there from a young age, right? So people really need to try and walk through this shit. What a family means, how family members should treat each other, you know, the whole fucking works. That, you know, that's the point you get to in this. You start to remove all these assumptions and desires that you held based on your assumptions, and you really strip it back to a point of, boom, start again. Just wipe it clean, start again. Right? I know that that's difficult for people, and it is a bit of a process to get there. But once you start getting to that, you start to break away all these delusions and these ideas that you've held onto, that you've just taken to be, oh, this is just life, this is the way life is, this is it. It's not the way life is. Right? Again, we are living in captivity. You're born into cultures, you're born into different ideals, different teachings, and they are imprinting you, and they are having an effect on your life, the choices you make, the things you desire, you yearn. Right? I'm going to open up tonight for anybody who wants to discuss any of this stuff. Right? So you need to send an email to nocurve@gmx.com. Okay? Marshall, you here? Right.
Yeah, just drop the necessaries in the chat box, dude. You got that phone live, have you?
I'm just going to switch it on right now.
I got a bone to pick with you, dude. You didn't tell me you were going slumming it earlier.
Oh, fuck. Do you know what? It was just a spur of the moment thing. I clicked up the subscriptions, you know, the thing that tells you what's going on. And I seen it, but I'd checked on it before, and I think it was Billy Sunday in there, and these sophist clowns pouncing on him, you know, and had him tied up in knots. So I thought, you know, I'm going to go in and I'm going to see what the reaction is. I'm going to test it to see how they behave. And I'm going to see how this Oakley fucking prick, you know, behaves and conducts himself. And it showed in spades exactly what they're about. So it's pretty much spur of the moment, mate. It was just a wee tester for myself to see how they would behave, you know.
I have to watch that on Catch Up TV now.
Aye, you'll see it. Just a wee quick note on everybody who came to the globe burning. It was absolutely brilliant to see everybody there and the effort that you'd put in. So much appreciated, and especially to you two guys who came up from down south. You know, a fair old journey. Much respect and appreciation for that. It was great to see you, and I really do appreciate you coming that far. Hopefully we can do it again sometime soon.
Right, well, I've got a request here, Dal, but I flat out, I'm not sending the fucking link out. You can do it if you like. Louis Hackett wants in.
Oh, aye, let him in.
Really?
Aye, let him in.
Okay. I'm warning you, Louis, if you're listening, man. You start with that mouthy stuff, and I'm just going to mute the fuck out of you, okay?
Well, that's proper moderation here. We have manners and we have respect here. We don't allow people to talk over the top of each other. No, like their fucking shit shows. So.
Right. I'm not taking responsibility for this, dude, but here you go, Louis. Here's your fucking link.
For anybody who's new and does not know, this young man is an advocate for the globe. He employs sophistry and browbeating, bullying tactics And if this chap lets in other accounts and they snipe this hangout, again, it's a reflection on the insecurity and the weakness of the Globe cult. If they do so, they will have 4 minutes to waffle their pish. Then I will fire back up once that is done. Okay. Now, people who have an issue with this, these are opportunities, people, for you to sharpen your tools, right? If it's an honest discussion, some discourse with people, you have an opportunity to sharpen your tools, right? To see this nonsense cult for what it actually is. So, as always, I am always going to open up to them, because we know that it is utter lunacy, and we have the opportunity to then show anybody who's new how much bullshit there is involved with this ridiculous religion. So once I deal with this, I'm going to talk about some other topics in regards to the mind, things that we take for granted. And I'll use some comments as a wee pointer for some of the stuff I'm talking about. Dale, do you think there is a way out of this place? Aye, quite possibly. You know, whatever it may be, you know, obviously people know that I've entertained the notion and idea that we are encased in some sort of sphere. Whatever it may be, you know, I look at it now as a machine. It's a designed, created construct. So for me, there will be inlets and outlets from it. Where that leads to, I don't know. What's beyond it, I don't know. Many different people think different things, domes, infinite planes. I don't subscribe to any of them. My mind is totally open, and I just want the exploration in order to establish it. I don't have any preference for what it is. Whatever it is much more intriguing and much more exciting than the mundane, crappy, unimaginative bullshit of fucking potato rocks and vacuums flying endlessly through a sun. Well, is this young chap appearing here or what, or are they just saving the link, hoping to snipe it? You still there?
I think it's a sniper. I think it's an attempt at a snipe, dude. So maybe it isn't even him. I certainly stand by what I said, though. He's not welcome in my company.
Yeah. Teaches jet propulsion and astronomical advancement courses at MIT. Wasn't going to fix him, but he's gone too far this time. The idea what you're talking about there. Yep, number there if anybody wants to phone or message is 07393 654 544. So, just in the woods, how can you create something on this magnitude? Well, just because, you know, you're so small and, you know, we can't perceive that right now doesn't mean to say, you know, we can't understand it. Do you think ants in an ant farm go, whoa, how could anybody have created this? It's massive. Ricky, see, awakening the masses, give them the fuck you attitude, Dale. It's always the fuck you attitude. Not interested in any of their bullshit. This is not a mind that they are going to mould and suppress into believing they're fucking hogwash. And they fucking know it. So, it showed today, the nervousness when I appeared, and then the jumping in of other characters to try and back it up. because they are shite bags, right? And they know fine well that they're trying to hold up a lunacy. And you'll hear shite like, oh, but how does he pressure get lesser? And the fact of the matter is you need to ask them, how do you even create pressure in the first place? How the fuck do you even get pressure in the first place? And how do we find that out? That's right, we go to practical reality. We go to tried and tested everyday practical reality. And that tells us how we create pressure. Don't allow them to mould you to believe, what was that? Do not allow the masses to mould you to believe yourself to be. Don't let anybody mould you. You mould yourself. Louis.
Good afternoon, evening.
Yes.
Before you start, Lou, can I ask you, are you still spamming my mailbox suggesting that you haven't been sent the link?
I just sent the 2 emails. I wasn't sure if the first one got to you, so I just sent it in second.
Right, okay, cool. As long as I know where they're coming from, yeah.
Yep.
So,
well, I agree with a lot of the things you're saying, that a lot of people go through life and they just think this is the way life is, and they don't recreate themselves from scratch because of it's beneficial to do that. It's they have to drop baggage to do that and forget lots of things, and a lot of people don't want to do that. So I mean, it is a struggle, and all these things that I agree on you with, they have nothing to do with the shape of the Earth.
Well, for me, they're hugely relevant. It all ties into the exact same thing, because assumptions and things that we've been taught and taken as facts and truths all have to be looked at and questioned, especially the globe. So it's hugely relevant.
All right.
At the end of the day, that's the fundamentals, that's the foundation. That's where you base any kind of rational philosophy or idea about your existence. Emanates from that first and foremost. So if that's wrong, your philosophies, your ideas about your existence are going to be flawed.
So there are a number of technologies that are very dependent on the Earth being a globe. So how would those technologies continue to function if the Earth were flat?
What do you mean?
So ballistic trajectories, for example, and guided missiles more. When it was a specific type of missile, a cruise missile, but there was some name for it. It was famous for like in the 90s. But when it came out, it had the ability to create a map of the area around it by scanning it, and that was the new technology, and it made it able to guide itself by cross-referencing the map it was making with a map in a database that it was connected to. And so the connection to the remote control was necessary for the function of the missile. There has to be someone there to confirm the tracking, so it has to connect remotely for the cross-reference. Otherwise, it can't make the automatic decision to adjust its course to whatever its target is. So
maps.
The military has, in the globe theory, many satellites around the planet going in different directions so that they can maintain a 24/7 unanimous connection to every place on the surface of the planet.
Okay, so we'll need to pull you back there, Louis, and look at some of your assumptions. Right? Maps are planar geometry. They are flat. Okay?
Yeah.
Satellites are an assumption. Depends what you mean by satellites. Do you mean objects that are being fired into the vacuum of space through the heliocentric claims and the globe claims that we live in a vacuum? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, ICBMs do that. Absolutely.
So you believe that we are on a rock in a vacuum with a pressurized system?
Yes, it is pressurized.
Right. So why would you believe that when practical reality and real science shows you that that's impossible?
Because the force of gravity is what's responsible for that pressurization.
So a pulling force, so we get this right, gravity is the pulling force, a pulling force, is that right?
Attractive, yep.
Attractive force created by mass.
Yes.
At what point does the mass, how big does the mass have to be before that magic stuff kicks in?
Any mass will happen, but the more mass, the more the attraction.
Okay, so what have you got in way of referencing that you can show us that that is reality, that things are attracted to each other?
I could, if it would cost a bunch of money to buy supplies to set up the experiments, and I'm sure that there are people who have done it. I don't know where the documentation of it is, but you could set up 2 Cavendish experiments right next to each other and simply use different size weights to be the attractive force. So you just have one that's like 5 times bigger than this one and calculate the different rate at which the objects move and gravitate towards.
So this is part of the issue that I have with people, Louis, and people like yourself shooting spades continually. I'm a direct realist. I share my direct experience, my practical knowing in every hands-on day existence. People like yourself spew this stuff, repeating it from books and things that you've read and things that you have been told. What we are interested in, Louis, is what you have actually done yourself, what you can show in way of practical form. Do you have anything at all? Anything? I'm not interested in guys in sheds 2,000 years ago. Apparently, guys in sheds can't be trusted or shouldn't know anything.
It just seems like you wanna have your cake and eat it too. And when someone in real life is there giving you the same answer that somebody else could give, it's like you won't take anything on faith that your humans aren't lying to you. And you said that at the beginning, like it's all part of it. You got to question everything.
Humans are lying.
I agree.
Humans are lying, deceptive pieces of shit.
Yeah, we're monsters. Yeah.
Right. So
Every one of us.
I don't put faith in any other man to tell me something is true or factual. I'm not interested in it. It's a fallacy and it's a weakness.
I don't even put faith in myself to do that.
Right. So
I don't actually do it a lot of the time.
Why would you share things that you have no practical experience of? Why do you repeat these things when you have no practical experience of them?
Because they are the best. They are the best explanations of what I see in the world.
So you prefer explanations. So when somebody like me would reference liquid and say, well, here's an abundant, substance in reality that you use every single day. Right now, you're probably sitting there with a cup, a container, holding it, and the surface is level and flat, right? I would say to you, there's an abundant substance that shows you beyond any shadow of a doubt that a body of water cannot possibly be clinging to and displaying the undershape upon its surface of any object or shape. But you'll deny that in favour of an explanation. That's
it goes back to, I don't mean to cut you off, before, when I said the force of gravity, I didn't say it before, but I'll say it now. The force of gravity is stronger the closer you are, or the closer 2 objects are together, the stronger the attraction between them. So the water is right on the surface of the earth, and it's not moving laterally. It's not moving relative to the earth at all. So there's no inertial difference between the water and the earth. They're moving together, and the force of gravity is strong enough to hold not only the water there, but the atmosphere there as well. And that's why you have the stratification of elements as you go in. And it creates such intense pressure that it melts the core.
But mass creates pressure.
The force of gravity, which is a function of the mass, yeah.
Well, mass itself creates pressure.
It's not too much of a leap to say, but it wouldn't be my words of choice.
Because you prefer an explanation, because you have a preferred bias. You want the globe to be true rather than looking at objective reality for what it actually is. Now,
it's less specific.
The difference with me and you is, Louis, is I'm offering practicality. You have an explanation. So I'm offering the substance, I'm offering the behaviour of the substance. You're offering something that's contrary to that without any practicality, anything to reference practically. It's just words. And that for
one
me
of the things I agreed upon with you was oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm forgetting it.
You have other underlying assumptions as well that you've referenced there about the earth moving and the motions So,
Oh,
you know, you don't even have any proof for any of that.
I agree when you say reality is not up for debate. It is what it is.
Okay. So
It
why
is absolutely what it is.
Why do people like you perpetuate it like it is a debate? Why are you not trying to empower people and let them know that it's not a debate?
It's not a debate.
Right? Exactly.
I mean,
So
I mean,
how do we formulate what's factual about life? Never mind appealing fallacies to authorities or, you know, explanations or anything like that. Just man to man, what substances, what practicalities can we have with each other that shows us what reality is?
if we're trying to convince each other that the position that the other person has is wrong, and you want to convince them that yours is more right, then you have to put forward whatever it takes to convince that person. But if you don't care about convincing them, you don't have to do anything. So, I mean, I really don't. Oh, you're muted. I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. No, see, this is the thing. You know, this is what I keep saying to people. I am a man. I'm an objective reality, the same as everybody else. So if we want to show each other things in practicality, like I want to say to you, here, Louis, look, liquid has to be contained. The surface is always level. You know, I can show you that in practical form, and I can scale that up, and I can keep scaling it, and I can show you it. You know, you want to suggest to me that at some point I could bend this cup and the surface is going to bend and conform like that, but you have nothing practical to show me. Nothing. Apart from an image. Well, if you have something practical, show me it.
I can't show you what I've seen.
So it's a subjective thing then. So it's no objective.
Absolutely.
It's a subjective thing that you want to be true. You have seen images.
No, it is.
You've been indoctrinated through your education system. You've been programmed through the media, and you have a bias for that to be true.
It's a lot simpler than that. It comes down to everybody's experience and perception of the world that they find to be objective is subject to them and where they are.
No.
So there are things exterior, there are forces exterior to ourselves that control us, and you want to apply agency and malice towards them so that you can point the finger at it, but you shouldn't do that. It's a distraction.
No, there is forces, you know, we can't see air, but we breathe it. It's still a substance that we can put into practice and understand. So, you know, this nonsense about, you know, things being subjective is total bullshit, because that very chair you're sitting on has definite dimensions to it.
Absolutely.
Every single wee bit of it has a definite dimension that I can affect you with. I could strike you with any part of that chair and you will be affected by it. So there is an objective reality. It's no subject to your interpretation. Right? We're talking about the substances.
My interpretation is subject to my experience, which I cannot necessarily control. And neither can you.
What do you mean?
Your objective beliefs, your beliefs about the world and what is objective about it, are subject to your experience and where you are in life.
Well, you're talking about social dynamics. You talking about.
You said every single part of you is defined and exists, and even in your brain where you can't see, even inside of you, there's a lot going on that we don't know about, and all of that matters.
Right.
So, I mean, we should take each other at our word and not call each other liars and shills, because it's a distraction.
The difference is here is you're equating it to you know, invisible things or a social dynamic in regards to, you know, experiences between people. I'm talking about reality and the substances that are in reality that are no up for your interpretation or my interpretation. They are what they are. They stand on their own. Right.
Yep.
So liquid seeks its own level. The surface does not have the ability to conform and display convexity or any other shape upon its surface. That is a fundamental fact of your reality. No one
And another fundamental fact of our reality that is not up for interpretation is that we are not all equal. Those forces that are equal, that everybody experiences, no, we don't experience them the same because we are not all equal. It's the same force applied to all of us. but we all have different strengths and weaknesses.
But you're just getting, you know, these quotes. What you need to do is,
no, I'm making this up as I go.
right, we'll offer something that people can relate to. Give us examples of what it is you're trying to talk about.
I think everything I said is relatable.
Well, just give us one then. I'm asking you.
I said earlier that, well, I'm not trying to convince you that the Earth is a globe. All right. I would much rather talk about the things we agree upon and flush those out, because I really liked that.
Right. Well, that's what I'm asking you for. I'm trying to understand the points you're trying to make here, and I'm asking you for some sort of practical reference that we can relate to, so that we know what you're talking about.
Well,
so you're talking about everybody's no equal, you know, there's different forces and blah, blah, blah. So can you give us an example?
well, like you could lift more weight than me, probably.
Yeah.
Perhaps I could run a longer distance than you. Some people are sterile. Some people are infertile. There are retarded people.
Yep.
There are cripples, and cripples may not have been born cripples. Maybe they were. Some people are blind. You know, there's so many things that can just be wrong with your development relative to the other people around you. If everyone was a cripple, then, you know, that would be normal, and there wouldn't be it. It's the disparity between us that I believe it results largely in our various different beliefs.
Regardless of whether I can lift more weights or you can run faster or people are crippled or no crippled, we're made of the same substances.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, a foundation of a building and the materials a building's made of are all standard and usually the same, but that doesn't mean all buildings look the same.
No.
Or trees, or any other animals. So.
No, totally agree with that.
All right. I mean, it applies to our brain and mode of thinking as well. And as much as I hate, I don't know, hate's too strong of a word, but as much as I don't like IPS, there's one thing that he said that I can't disagree with, and it's that everyone should read the 48 Laws of Power. And I think of it almost like a holy book. I'm just going to leave that one there. It's by Robert Greene. It's changed my life, and the weird thing is, none of it I really needed to be told. I knew all of it already, but having somebody else say it is really, really weird how that works.
Sometimes when somebody says something that you recognise, you align with it. But that's another aspect of this whole journey. I've seen that with many people. Many people conceptualise things in their mind, or they have certain trains of thought, and then they may go to a book, or they may go to a certain philosophy, or a certain guru, a certain teacher, and that person or book or material says something that aligns with a formulated concept, idea, thought, and people automatically, because they feel that, you know, they jump into this attitude of it being truth. Just because they've already conceptualized certain things in their mind, they hear these things and they relate to it as if it's some sort of truth, which is exactly what we see with certain religions or ideologies. You know, people have formulated these ideas. They see something that gives them confirmation that that other people are thinking it. They jump into it. They think it's true, and they start defending it. It becomes them, and for me, that's very dangerous.
Yeah, I think a lot of the proselytizing that goes on with religious, I was raised very Christian, so I'm familiar with how they work and what they do, and it's kind of brilliant in a way. But I think a lot of the people who actually go out and proselytize are trying to fill a need to have community and companionship, and they're misplacing that desire. The religions trick them into misplacing that desire into gulling the gullible.
Well, people are not left to formulate and understand things for themselves. We're subject to ideas and rules and regulations from a very young age. You know, an animal, a young pup in a litter, learns its manners, its respect, how much it can bite, how far to push the lines, based on its experience with its other siblings and, you know, the litter.
Yeah.
You know, not because somebody comes and imposes ideas and regulations upon them. That's just the problem with human beings. There's so many rules, regulations, ideas, control, hierarchy, structure imposed on us that we don't have any direct experience of learning to formulate these things on our own anymore. And we're so separated in the mind and trying to fit ourselves into these boxes and these things that have been sold to us that it's causing a shitstorm, as far as I can see. You know?
Yeah, I think it's important to not get worked up about it, but I don't disagree that it's absolutely happening. That's the way the world is, and they overcomplicate everything and slow it way down. And it's the closest thing. If something is evil, I would say it's the intentional obstruction of life.
Yeah, it's
in that way.
Imposition of free will.
Yeah,
but look at me, for example. People think that, you know, getting angry or displaying passion is somehow a negative thing, when really this is a language and the methods, just as I referenced, you know, the litter. If I was in a litter and I had some obnoxious little fucker, you know, trying to browbeat and sell me some fucking bullshit, you know, or whatever, or you know, annoying me in whatever way, shape or form, I'm going to show my teeth and I'm going to snarl at them. And they're going to get the fucking message. But we've been sold this shit that real men and women are not supposed to display emotion like that. Real men and women are not supposed to stand up against the things that matter to them. And that, for me, is a real problem. You know?
Yeah.
So I don't have any bones about getting pissed off. I'm not going to sit back and say, oh, yeah, you know, I'm always just calm. And I can be calm and rational all the time, unless people are pushing my buttons. If I'm getting met with idiocy, then I've got a short fuse for idiocy. So I flare up with it, and I'm not going to make any apologies for it. Doesn't make me lesser or anybody any better than me. You know, these things have to be left to happen.
I mean, yeah, anger is a very tough one though, and
well,
I mean, one of the
mindless, uncontrollable anger is something totally different. You know, I've been there, I've been that guy. You know, chain reaction, no control of my emotions, no control of my mind, just getting frustrated and angry with life in general, and it just chain reacting into, you know, smashing things and, you know, just being a total dick. But you learn through time not to be a victim of that, a victim of yourself, you know? So there is a difference.
It's a hard one. It's a hard one to learn for a lot of people. I never had too much problem with it, but in social settings, I'll find that things people say, they piss me off. And so as a result, I have nothing nice to say. And I'm left, you know, just standing there unable to say anything. And, you know, time keeps passing. And so you find instead of trying to find something else to say to jokingly move the conversation along or something tactful, I just try and look like I'm not bothered by the awkward silence. And I think I've gotten reasonably good at it, but that's what I'm doing, I think. And I was going somewhere with this. Yeah, the 48 laws of power, like it said the single greatest barrier to acquiring power is your emotions, and they will never help you for figuring out what you can do to improve your situation, which is what power is about.
No, emotions for me are purely a guide to tell you how you're thinking and how you're reacting in any situation. They're a reflection tool, you know, and they're very useful for me.
Right. Well, he doesn't say don't listen to them. He says you should listen to them and you should feel them, but you shouldn't ever act on them and let them be part of a judgment call.
But
like no matter what.
When you're looking at objective facts, then certainly things should never be swayed either or by emotional influence or manipulation. Never.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to keep talking about the book, but I let a friend borrow it. So
what's the book about?
It's about it's the guy who wrote it did a whole bunch of stuff before he ended up becoming an author, and it was wildly popular. Mainly people in jail and prison read this book, and then celebrities are like the second people on the list who read this book. So it's I really can't recommend it high enough, but it's about there are 48 laws of power, and if you transgress on them, things will turn out badly for you every single time. And if you do things by observing the law and recognizing it in the specific situation that you're in with a superior or a friend or a lover or whatever.
So is it a social book in regards to relations and how we go about, you know, interacting with each other?
No, it's basically a direct message to the reader. It's kind of like the Bible and how it's just talking to you. It uses historical examples of people to demonstrate the various laws, but it also explains things very concisely. And it's one of the few books I've been able to read for long durations of time. Like, I didn't want to put it down, and that doesn't happen with other books.
So, you know, for me, you know, I learn things, as I referenced earlier, the litter, you know, analogy. You know, and if people go internal themselves and they look at themselves with honesty and openness, they'll start to recognise things in other people. And that, for me, is the greatest learning tool, rather than, you know, having to get it from a book. As I say, fair enough if you get some sort of, you know, alignment or confirmation from a book that you may be on the right path, then by all means. But, you know, I certainly wouldn't reference a book for any of that.
It's kind of like poetry, I think. It's not poetry, but it speaks to you in the same way that poetry would. So,
but doesn't he offer anything about, you know, how we, you know, agree upon what's an objective fact or anything?
No, and he actually advises against trying to do that.
Why?
Because it's a distraction, and the hard work of the people around you will determine that for you, and you can then be in a position to take credit for their work.
So as a kind of social book, then it's about social dynamics. It's not about
that's a small half of it's about other people, and half of it's about the internal response to a situation.
So as a social science book, then that's what it is.
I don't know. You'd have to read. I wouldn't describe it that way, but you could be right.
Well, if it's to do with people and, you know, interactions with people and internal dialogues you're having, then it's a social science. That's what it is.
It's this guy. It's just this one guy's personal thing. I kind of want to find the preface and just post it somewhere so you can read it, because the preface is very powerful. Feel free to.
See, that's the thing, you know, people don't realise these, when they talk about science as well, and the separations and why they're separated, you know, because the thing that I'm interested in, you know, there is the social aspect with people, and these are, you know, dynamics that are going to be ongoing, but the mere simple things for me is the objective reality and its substances. That's what's really important to me right now. For me, I don't need any more internal gymnastics or any of that shit. You know, I've cleared that stuff out. I want to know exactly where I'm. I want to know what the full dimensions are and what is beyond, if there is anything beyond it.
This is a link directly to internet version of the entire book, so it's a little bit wonky to read on this web page because of how it's outlined, but it should be easy enough to figure out.
Classical studies. Secret language of relationships, blah, blah, blah. So it is. Cool, I'll save that and I'll have a look at it.
Yeah, don't make too many. I feel like you might make some judgments in the acknowledgement section if you read that, but the preface, I would definitely recommend reading that. And if you don't want to read it after that, then maybe it isn't for you. But I think the preface is a pretty goddamn good hook for just about anybody.
Yeah. Well, cheers for sharing that. So, you know, we're still no further in, you know, on in regards to understanding natural science and the substances of reality, or the objective facts of reality, which is, you know, of utmost importance to me.
Okay, well, all right, we can talk about that.
Well, That's pretty much what you're here for, is it not?
Well, I didn't really want to argue about that with you because I don't think it'll go anywhere, really.
But here's the thing, Lou, there is no argument. Again, we agreed that objective reality is not up for debate. So if I tell you, Louis, stick your finger in that flame, it's not going to burn you. Are you going to believe me?
No.
Right.
But it has happened. It has happened where somebody's done that and I stuck my finger in the flame and it didn't burn me. But that's because it was a trick flame. And I mean, I think it should be realized that it could have been the case that you had a trick flame there. It wasn't, but it could be.
Well, let's assume it's a real flame.
Right, Louis, of course. Then yes, I wouldn't.
Stick your finger in there for 30 seconds, Louis. It's not going to burn you. Right. It's an objective fact that is going to burn you and melt your skin.
Mm-hmm.
It's also an objective fact that water must be contained. Bodies of water will be level if they're not flowing away, and that they do not conform to the exterior of shapes. You cannot sink something into that body of water and have it displayed upon the surface. Louis.
Right. It's an objective fact that if you turn that cup upside down, the water will fall out.
Yes.
So it's an objective fact that there is a force perpetually pulling downwards.
No, if I put a placemat over the top of it and I turn it upside down.
Right, but there's still a force.
What's that force?
I call it gravity.
See, if I filled that right to the very top, and I put a matchstick in there that floats, and then I put my hand over the top of it and I squeeze, do you know what's going to happen to the match?
It'll probably go down into get broken.
It'll sink. Do you know why?
Does it get water clogged real quick? And
no. If I put a match in there and it floats on the surface of the water, and I then put my hand over and press, the match sinks to the bottom of the cup, although it's still filled with water. Why is that?
I would say because all the air gets squished out of it.
So what's happening? Why does the match?
Because it has a head on it, which is more dense than water, and when the wood becomes filled with water, it can no longer support the weight of the added material, and the matchstick itself becomes less dense than, or more dense than water.
I'm not talking about the absorption here. I'm talking about the increase in pressure. So the increase in pressure would make the match sink. No magical forces.
No, it's not the increase in pressure doing that. It can't be.
Well, go and look at Archimedes' principle. Go and look at some of the experiments. Try it yourself. Get yourself a bottle, okay? Fill it right up to the top. Put a match in it. Put your hand over the top and push. In a glass bottle and watch the match.
I'll have to do that. I got to get some matches though. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. So then you can see the problems and the flaws in some of these claims that people are making. But first,
there is. I really want to get you to say that there is a force holding us down.
It's not up to me.
Where we are.
It's not, if you want to bring something to me and you want to show me something practically to make a point, like as it just says, if I want to tell you, Louis, fire's going to burn you, I can show you.
Right, but it's just as practical. You had the cup with water, and I said, but if you turn it upside down, the water will fall out.
No, if I put something over it.
But okay, don't. That's the whole point, is that the force causes it to fall.
Yeah. I would say
so it's not the fact, it's not the pressure keeping the water in the cup. If there was no pressure, that water would just stay in the cup.
I have to turn it upside down. The water will flow out and then it's subject to the air pressure again, which forces it downwards.
So shouldn't we weigh less indoors then? Because we're isolated from all that air outside.
No, you're still under the same pressure.
No, but I'm isolated inside this container, which has its own internal pressure.
Yeah, but it's an equilibrium with the pressure that's outside.
So, but it's not with the cup? It's not with the cup?
No, the cup is in the exact same pressure as everything else right now, unless I seal the cup and I increase the pressure.
I don't see the point. I mean, if you tip the cup, the water's going to fall out, and it's not because air pressure's getting in there and scooping it out. It would do that normally. if that were the case.
But it's not like it's got a physical, human attribute where it's going to come in and scoop it out. That's
I know,
ridiculous.
but it seems like you think that water does have some sort of agency so that it can just level itself out.
No, it's not got a personality. These terms and this has been misconstrued and used deliberately by sophists. When you say things like, water seeks its own level, it's usually it's a term of words. It's not that you're suggesting that the water has a conscious thought to do so.
Right, but it takes away what gravity is doing. Gravity causes water to behave that way.
Well, we're going back to these words again, Louis. You have to define exactly.
What other words would you use to describe that phenomenon? Why do you always choose to use the phrase "water seeks its level"? That personifies water.
That's what it is. That's how we establish level. Water defines level. You're jumping to again. Defense. I'm simply
the force of gravity defines level. The force of gravity does that.
I would say it's not that. Well, that's fine if you want to say that. This is the point I'm trying to make. You have to define gravity. Then you have to show it in practical sense, practical form. If you want me to accept it as part of my objective reality, not just say a word and then use insistence that that's the case.
I'm using the same observations that you brought up.
What?
Water being flat, water in the cup. I'm using the same examples you did. I'm running with the same one.
Well, if I humour that and I say to you, okay, right, blah blah blah, we'll go with your forces. How does that prove you live on a globe?
Well, it allows. I can then start to explain why we're living on a rock in space with water clinging to the outside. Right, it's because of that force.
So it's a.
And I want to say one more thing. It actually, if you think about, just imagine. Sorry, I know you don't like when people want you to imagine because you want the practical. But if you imagine that the more of something there is, the more it attracts the something else to it. The natural shape that would make is a sphere. Because the moment you don't have a sphere, you have a difference in the distance from the most of the stuff to the less amount of the stuff protruding further away than the rest of the stuff. So the more of the stuff gets there, it creates a stronger force towards the most of the stuff. And if anything is not equidistant from that and touching it, it's going to have a different amount of force applied to it than the other stuff that is equidistant. So it naturally creates a sphere, and that's the most tightly packed configuration that you can have. That's why gravity naturally forms spheres everywhere.
Why do bubbles? What's a bubble?
That's a function of the surface tension and the liquid it's in. And the amount of gas.
And the pressure that's surrounding it.
Yeah. So I mean bubbles change as they go up.
Motion. Mm-hmm. But if I was to blow a bubble through, a kid's bubble device, it would be spherical bubbles. But that's happening because there's equal pressure all around it.
With the surface tension. That's what the surface tension, a different invisible force.
The surface tension and meniscus are things that we can observe and see practically. What you want to claim and what the globe claims is no practical. I don't see that anywhere in reality.
Well, beads of water on a clothesline, the sweat sticking to the outside of the glass. That's an example of surface tension. Water sticking to your hand. That's surface tension.
That's right.
The bubble has more surface tension, and that's why it's got soap and stuff in it. That's what it's for. It's to make it last as a bubble. You could blow a water bubble, but no, you probably couldn't even blow a water bubble.
Nobody denies any of these things. The point is when a drip collects into other drips, there's a different physicality to it. There's a different behaviour to it. Yeah.
And the planets that would represent drops out in the vacuum of space.
That's a misrepresentation.
They work on a different attractive force than the water molecules.
But I would have to also, get back again and keep pulling you back and say, you've got this underlying assumption that this positive pressure system can be coexisting next to a vacuum. Everyday practical reality. If I put a slight heel line fracture on your device thing there, you're going to have an issue trying to get a smoke out of it. because there's going to be an equilibrium. You're not going to get the full force of the suction.
If you put what in it? I'm sorry.
If I put a crack anywhere in your
right.
device there.
Yeah.
When we look at pressurized systems in reality, the things that we apply, refrigerators, central heating systems, your body, the blood, how the blood pumps around your body. You know, if you have a leak anywhere, you're going to have a real serious issue. So we come back to practicality and we look at all these practical things, and then we go to some of these claims which contradicts the practical everyday experience of people, and there's a real problem there. I don't know why anybody has an issue with seeing that.
Well, I think if you're going to go that route, you kind of have to throw out chemistry and molecular theory and whole huge other parts of science too, because those all work on very similar, invisible, unobservable forces. We can see the effects of those forces. That's all we can do.
You have practicality. Yep.
Right, and I'm saying that
chemistry and biology, these things are based in substance. They're based in practicality.
And so is the observance of gravity and the understanding that the natural shape that this force would create is a ball.
But that's you insisting that.
No, it's that if the force is real, if my understanding of this force I experience is real, this is the natural shape it would make, and it makes sense. Everything else that I see in the heavens are spheres.
So, you know, there's contradictions in some of these claims, although, you know, for me, they're just all hogwash. But, you know, is it that the mass is creating, you know, this gravity, or is it the warping of space-time?
We don't know what the order of those things are. They're just observations that people are making, that there's a difference in time if you're further away from a gravitational well. Basically a big object. So time passes slower for you if you're away from gravity. So if we go into space, time slows down for you. So that means everyone's going to die here on Earth quicker than you would. If you go literally, I'm not kidding about that.
I know, Louis, but you're none of this is your experience. You're just repeating stuff that you've heard.
Right, but that's the theory, though. It's kind of cool to think about.
It is a theory. So I think it would be a benefit for you, you know, if you went and actually put some of these things that you believe and assume to be true into practicality and see what you can find in the practical world to back up, you know, your beliefs that you hold. Then you might have more sway with it. But right now, you know, it's just ideas, words, theories, and nothing practical. The claims I make, I'm showing and offering practicality. People want to ignore it. People like yourself want to say, oh, no, it does because such and such. But you have no practical examples to show us. Nothing. Right.
All right. What if I come back sometime with matchsticks and a glass of water,
cool,
and I have 2 Cavendish experiments? Would you be interested to see those, like as I described before, one with a small weight and one with a large weight, to demonstrate the difference in the force of gravity?
Show me whatever you like.
All right. I'll take that. I'll take that. Del, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
No problems, man.
Yep.
Much better conversation. Sorry. Right, people. Well, I know, no Cavendish, seriously. Well, you know, let people go in there. If people want to buy into these things, then whatever, you know. I don't know how some wee contraption is going to prove it when we don't experience it anywhere else whatsoever. You know, I'm, you know, the mass of me is much bigger than my kids. I don't see them gravitating towards me or feeling any sort of pull whatsoever.
Hey, Dale.
You're right,
Hey, man.
You're right.
Aye, can't complain. I didn't want to disturb the man in full flow.
No, I used to just come in.
But it was at least a reasonable conversation, yeah.
Well, that's the difference. That's the whole point. You know, if people don't act like fucking imbecilic children, then I'm not going to get annoyed. You know, I just have a short fuse for stupidity.
Absolutely. I was just Googling his book. I was listening. So let's just see law number 7, get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. Law number 11, learn to keep people dependent on you. Law 12, use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. Law 14, pose as a friend, work as a spy. Yeah, I don't think that's a fucking book I'm going to be reading. Yeah.
Sounds like a book for them. Yeah. Sounds like a Bible for manipulators.
That's about it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But whatever, if it feels that's his life's calling to follow those rules, then yeah.
Well, this is the whole thing. You know, maybe some people are just wired that way, where they are manipulative at their very core, their essence, and you know, I'm quite willing to accept that, and that's the way people are. You know, I'm just willing to understand them. You know, it's just that I'm not going to accept them when they come into my fucking space and their bullshit. You know, but I'm willing to understand how they tick and what makes them operate. You know.
Yep. Oh, I understand. I mean, you need to have tolerance for other people's, how should I say, actions and beliefs, but only up to a certain level, you know, or up to a certain place, you know. So.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Aye, not a book that I would recommend to anybody, I don't think. You know, if I was going to recommend a book, I'll tell everybody my favourite book, Inquiry into the Human Mind on the Principles of Common Sense by Thomas Reid.
Yeah.
You should try reading that one, that maybe it'll change his mind. Yeah.
Aye. Well, that's a much more useful book.
Absolutely.
Well, depends, you know, that's subjective, I suppose, you know. If you're a manipulator, then, you know, that other book probably suit you better. Yeah.
Yep, that is the sad truth of the situation, yeah.
So
there was also some quite funny comments mentioned there, you know, about ignoring reality and live life again, you know. I can always only remind people of the heartbeat they have and the lungs that pump, whatever it is, 18 times a minute, you know, in a pressurized system. That if you didn't have any skin, it would be very difficult to live, right? You know, if your lung didn't have an outer, you know, covering, you know. So it's kind of like the Earth nonsense, isn't it? You know, I mean, just try to imagine that too, you know. So it's always amazes me why people don't take examples from lived life, you know, to show the facts of reality and still want to argue against it, you know, with some hypothesis. Yeah.
That's the point, you know, that's trying to break through that with people and let them understand where we're coming from and what we base our understanding of objective reality on, and it's based in practicality. It's based in purely, like you just said, it's not on, you know, mind-warping theories and ideas that come from man, you know?
Yep. And then this whole concept of, you know, gravity, you know, I mean, it keeps coming up. It's, you know, it's laughable. I mean, I think we all know that it's just a description that they're given, right? And when you look at the actual roots of what they've done, specific gravity, which is, you know, a property of substance, right, depends also on the pressure and volume of things and the density of things, right? And I've said this before, but, you know, equating this inertial property of substance with a force called gravity is what they do in this so-called equivalence principle in mathematics. So they equate both of these things, inertial mass and gravitational mass, to make it look as if gravity is something real. Whereas the real part is when you talk about the specific gravity of things within a pressurized system, right? And, you know, it's, again, using words to manipulate dimensionless ratios of nature, right? And packing it in words and sophistry, you know? And I know it's difficult for people to not see through that, right? Because it is, you know, couched in lots of terminology, terms that aren't properly defined unless you've studied 3 years or whatever, you know. So, you know, I can understand why people get embroiled in it, right? But, you know, even if you look at it from an academic viewpoint, you can see the problems, right? But you actually don't need that, you know. You just need to recognize that, you know, conjuring up woo-woo magic, right, to explain why things, you know, are the way they are is just bullshit, you know.
Yeah.
But,
well, it seems to me that it fits their narrative, so it's a useful tool for them, you know.
Yeah.
But it's never going to detract for the substances and the everyday, you know, practicality. You know, the fact there is no measurable curvature anywhere. You know, fact, liquid does seek to maintain its level and does not have the ability to do what they say it does. So, you know, these facts, you know, totally demolish any of their ideas of was living on a testicle, space testicle in a vacuum.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the difference.
It's nearly boring now to keep repeating that, because we're way past it, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's also more about empowering more Lloyds and more people, getting the numbers up.
Yeah.
When you hear these tired old arguments, you just have to shake your head nowadays, So
yeah, it just feels like sometimes I feel as if I've got to be fair and be open to it. Again, if there's new people there, we all had to experience sharpening our own tools and our own discernment and understanding. So if they've got something to reference and they can see an honest interaction between people, they've got the option there to see it rather than just browbeating and sophistry being pushed at them left, right, and centre. There's a bit of honesty there for them to discern for themselves. So and when it's discussions, when it's calm like that, I really don't have an issue with it.
No, I mean either. Yep. All civil. Yep.
People come with this defence attack stance and all these emotion motives that causes problems and people shouting over the top of each other, interrupting. I just get really flustered and angry really quickly with that shit. I've got no patience for it.
Well, I mean, they're coming from the wrong position again, right? They're defending positions in a debate, right?
Yeah.
Which is a certain form of conversation that's been, how should I say, instilled in people, right? Instead of recognizing objective reality, it is what it is, so we can all discuss it, but there's no point in debating it, right? As you quite rightly point out, so if they already come with that wrong attitude, it is frustrating. I completely agree.
It's so frustrating when you see people dedicating channels to debate.
Yeah.
In regards to this topic, it's so infuriating. It's so annoying.
Yep, you get it everywhere, don't you? The flat Earth debate, 1, 2, 3, 60, the Great Debate Challenge, it's all over the place. Yeah, but people need to realise that there is nothing to debate. We can only discuss.
Exactly. So, I mean, for me, to be honest with you, I'm way past that. I just want to, be involved in ridiculing and taking the piss out of it. I'm a joker at my very core. I find it really difficult not to, go into that mode of just taking the piss and trolling it. It's difficult.
Well, I mean, it's given the seriousness of the situation, humour and comedy is one way to deal with it anyway, right? And the Scots are always very good to point out the preposterous, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess it's in our blood. I'm the same, I'd rather just fucking laugh at the piss talk.
People think you have to get up to some sort of intellectual, capacity to be able to discuss these things, and I'm like, what? Fucking rocks and vacuums with fucking liquid and gas all clinging. Get to fuck. If for some people that's just, it's too simplified. They need this intellectual snobbery, to partake in, but to give them
again, they've been schooled in that, right? We've been kind of schooled to expect or to want that stuff, long-winded, complex explanations of stuff, because we're told from an early age we're too fucking stupid, right? We get the servile education that's good for the one job we get, but we're not taught to think, so, we expect other people to do it, so, you get into that mindset, I suppose,
Exactly. Yeah. Listen, I'm really sorry to leave you in an uncomfortable situation here, mate, but I need to nick to the... What's up?
Go for it. No bother.
2 seconds.
Hey, Marshall, how's things, man?
Well, Gavin, the way it goes, mate, 30 minutes. It's a normal answer there. I was a bit disappointed the old the maths mouth that was in chat last week didn't take us up on the offer and come and address the mathematics that he seemed to think that you had in error, but and apparently they're not to be seen again. So I think you scared them off.
I didn't realise I was so intimidating. I'm actually quite a nice bloke. But yeah, it's a shame they don't come on and have a discussion about it, I mean, I'm certainly, maybe he can come back, yeah.
Well, I'm waiting for them to turn up again. Lego Lord, apparently it was.
Lego Lord? Okay.
Yeah. So,
So have you been practicing some songs, Marshall?
Well, that's to be announced, I think.
Christmas is coming, so
yeah. Well, you know, we'll wait and see what's in the stocking there, man. Shall we? There's a few little projects on actually. But yeah, I won't say any more about that for a moment.
Okay. No problem. Any good shout outs for channels I should look at? I haven't been able to keep up.
Well, I mean, there are plenty, and I'm sure people who are attending this evening have heard me shout out Harry Growler enough times. Harry, fucking brilliant work you're doing there, dude. And, somebody's just pointed out in chat that my perspective is back in the circuit and producing content, which I think anybody that isn't aware should go and take a look there as well.
Good shout.
I'll just stick. I'll stick the channel in the chat box for people who haven't seen it before. There is a host of people. You've caught me on the hop there, dude, because I wasn't expected to be here this evening, and I was sort of engaged in something else. But there's a wealth of content coming out from a lot of the smaller channels, and we do our best to try and announce them as we come across them. People, if you think that you're not getting the airing that you feel you deserve, then please, you know, shout out, and we'll echo that to the people that are attending here. You know.
Yeah. I mean, if it's valuable to people, you know, then we'll just continue to shout it out all the time. You know. So.
Did you guys see that? I just got one video in my feed where some guy was heckling an astronaut on stage, asking them about bubbles. I thought that was pretty good. You know, it reminded me of that interview of Armstrong, you know, where an astronaut looks really uncomfortable, you know, looking at his fucking shoes and the ceiling, you know, anywhere but, you know, give a straight answer. So
that's great. I've seen a lot of them popping up. There's a few. There's people at outside universities now, you know, kind of having no debates. I don't want to say that, but shouting about it and engaging in conversations with people. I've seen quite a few of them. I'm going to get a wee list and shout them out as well. But I think they're getting attention with it, you know, which is great. So just hope that people keep it up and keep that pressure on, you know. I mean, regardless, I always keep saying that, regardless of what anybody wants to believe, the best method would be to get this to the numbers and get it resolved one way or the other. You know, if science is secure on what it thinks it knows, then, you know, let's just have that discussion. Let's get it all out on the table and let's see what's what. You know, I mean, the truth will defend itself. There's absolutely no need for these people running about trying to defend it and shut other people down for questioning it. You know.
Well, I think they're too scared to come out. You know, I think if there's real academics looking at this, then they know they've got, you know, a hell of a lot of responsibility to take. You know, and they shy away from it. So, but what I see even in my, you know, own social circles is you know, like people coming back after a conversation of, you know, maybe 3 months ago and coming back and, you know, like you can see that, you know, they'll even admit to it. Fuck, I've thought about that every single day since we had that discussion, you know, and now I'm starting to, you know, realize, you know, what it was you were talking about. Yeah. So even sometimes it just takes a while, but, you know, I think anybody who gets the seed in their head and starts to think critically, you know, will circle back to this position. Yeah. We don't fucking know what's going on, right? We know the bullshit we've been told can't be right, yeah. And you know, we need people in numbers to shout for it, yeah, and stand up. So, yep.
That's it, and that's it. It comes down to the people, and people, if you're out there and you're willing to get off your arse and take it out to the people, take it to them, by all means get involved in it. You know, it's not going to happen by just sitting online expecting your favourite guru to, you know, achieve it for you. Everybody needs to get involved. The more people do, the more it will spread quicker, you know?
Yep, absolutely. I know we can maybe sometimes sound a bit harsh when we say people do something and get up and do it, you know? And I know it's not necessarily an easy thing, but it is the only way forward, right? You know, everybody needs to take responsibility for it and do something, yeah.
That's what I was referencing, you know, when I done the videos, you know, last week. You know, it's this attitude that people have, and it's like saying, no, look, you know, we're talking about the very tools that gets things done in reality. You know, people don't want to look at these things and employ them. It allows these people to imprint and manifest the reality that they align with, the shit that we see now. So, people just need to employ the very same tools, your flesh and blood the same as these people. You have the same abilities. Let's just force what we want to see happening. Force the change. Sit back waiting for invisible forces and saviors to sort it all out for us. It's not going to get you anywhere.
Yep. And also this, let's just think about it and think positive and, espouse love vibrations, that's not going to work either, So people need to get out of that mindset as well. You actually need to physically take action, and mentally, obviously, or vocabulary, or, but yeah, dreaming or hoping for it's not going to work.
They've got this illusion that these people have got the access to demons that are helping them to manifest all this stuff. And you go, well, what the fuck have they got that's any different from the billions of people who think they're, aligned with some other, good spiritual force? I mean, how's things not transpiring for them then? It's just that they've got better access to the demons than you have to the angels or whatever it is you believe in. I mean, people have been sold these nonsense ideas. It's like the Wizard of Oz. The wizard with all his magical powers, and really it's just some wee fucking guy, wee greedy, needy, insecure bastard behind a curtain. And what we're seeing in the world is a result of this fucking greed and self-serving, delusional shit. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. Well, I mean, we all know how much Hollywood sometimes tells the truth, right?
Yep.
Or has these predictive programming, or laughs in your face, or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, that's a very good analogy of the man behind the curtain. Yeah. Basically what's going on. Some cunt is manipulating it and everybody else is just acquiescing, or can't be bothered, or can't get up off their arse, or or maybe even doesn't know how to do something, which is I hope what we're changing here by giving people the necessary tools or know-how, right? So
the occult knowledge to achieve things would have been just common knowledge, which has been removed from us. It's not like a magical potion or wand that gives you access to these realms of possibility where you can make things happen. That's just not what's going on. When you try and point out to people it's not good enough. No. These evil elitists are in alignment with demons and unknown forces, and they can access that, but because they're esoteric and have this secret knowledge. And you go, well, let's talk about what tools they have in the secret knowledge that they think you have, and it's pretty mundane. It's stuff that the tools that everybody has. It's just that they actually apply it. They actually go about it and get things happening while they're selling you fantasies about delusional fairy tales and far off places. They're actually getting done what they want to achieve.
Well, you've said it before. I mean, I think you call it lesser magic, or basically manipulative, sophistry and tactics like that. But they make it out that they've got higher, greater, bigger powers. But that's just to make people defeatist, right? So fuck, we can't go against that. We're never going to beat them. So it's but that's just the way they manipulate what we perceive, right?
Adds to the showmanship.
Yep.
Giving you this illusion, this grand illusion that they're more powerful than they actually are.
Right.
But when you use the problem is, and that's what I really seen through trying to explain that to people, the buzzwords and how people are so affected by certain sayings and words that you're using, when you're really just using them as a description for behaviours and how things are being done. It's not like you're aligning to a particular philosophy or faction or organisation or institution. No, about just about showing them, who's that? Is that me or you?
Sorry, no, it's somebody trying to contact me. Sorry.
Right.
All right, it's gone now.
I lost my train of thought there. I've got a phone call coming in here, Gav. I'll just answer.
I don't want to hold anybody back.
That's all right. Hello.
Hey, how are you guys doing tonight?
How you doing?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clear.
Yeah, it's me again, Dell. I want to make this very short because I was listening to the discussion you're having with the young fellow there, and it's reminiscent of what probably most of us have to deal with all the time. And here's the thing. For me, I mean, you can pretty much tell right off the bat if somebody is willing to sort of somewhat accept or listen or be objective, right? They say that. But when you actually put them to the test, you see that it's not true at all. In fact, they already have a preconceived notion. So the thing about that is, rather than get into these long debates, I know that, I mean, for a lot of people, it's not practical to be able to be in the physical presence of another individual, at least. But, you know, I live by Lake Ontario, right? It's one of the largest Great Lakes. And so I have a P900. So anybody that doubts it, I would gladly take them over there, right? And say, okay, here's the circumference of the Earth, right? Look at Pythagoras, you know, or whatever, right? And if this is a curvature, right, we shouldn't be able to see this far out, right? We shouldn't be able to see an object this far out. And so if you do that in real time, if they actually experience it for themselves, as we've talked, right? We don't know anything until we've actually experienced it for ourselves, you know, done the experiment ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I think that is just like when you go on your YouTube videos and you know, demonstrate certain things like with water always leveling. I think that is really a sort of mind FUCK some people, right? Because all I heard from that discussion was verbal diarrhea for the most part, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's about when you, a lot of debates, I've noticed when people have debates would be arguing about politics and morality, it doesn't solve anything, because it seems to me debates are just a dance of verbology, I guess the word is, until, like, you know, one person slips up and states a logical fallacy.
Yeah.
Right? That's what most debates are really about.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't be, right? So finding the truth, right? And so I guess what I'm trying to say to other people out there that want to convince others is maybe, you know, take people along and let them experience the experiment for themselves, rather than explain to them and, you know, draw diagrams. I think it's the most effective tool.
Yeah, certainly is. You know, it was great, you know, when I was doing the street interview things, having the you know, the observations right there, like maybe being at an ocean or a pond or a lake, you know, having the practicality or the example right in front of you certainly makes a huge difference to it, you know.
It does, because they can't explain it. I say, do you believe in math? I mean, do you believe in basic fundamentals of math? And they go, yes. And you know, I'll show a picture of, like, the Earth and the curvature per square inch, right? I go, so, and then I actually have, there's a chart for the Nikon P900. It's not really a true 85x, but that's irrelevant. The point is the amount that it actually zooms in, mathematically speaking, right?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be able to see the ships, the boats, sailboats that sail out there anymore, right? Should not be possible if this Earth is actually a curve. And which even makes it even worse is if indeed it's chubbier, as our friend Neil deGrasse says, right? And it's pear-shaped, that means where I live, there would be even more curvature.
Yeah, exactly.
There would be more curvature. Of course, I will stick with the ball, you know, perfectly circular ball model that NASA gives, because that's what people will accept. You show them oblate, they're not going to believe it, even though NASA says it, right? So just stick with that, and even that doesn't work. And so all this, like I said, just like that fella, if you took a fella like that, you stuck him there, you go, explain this to me. Or if I shoot a laser across the lake, a powerful laser, and hits the other end, right? It's like, this shouldn't be possible. This laser should have went into space. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So I think people should take some responsibility. They truly care about this, right? I know it's difficult to go out there and talk to people, right? I mean, I'm not necessarily the most extroverted individual, right? But if they really, really care about it, it is the best way to convince somebody. Because if most of the time, like I said, you're going to get into just verbal diarrhea discussion, right? Theories and hypotheses, things that people have never seen, or they're just regurgitating what they learned during their neurological. I was mentioning this earlier. If you really think about it, it's pretty sad. And it's how our brains develop. And I think I can't remember the exact age, 1 to 5, 1 to 8, neuroplasty, right? That's really key, because that's where permanent neurological development takes place. And they've indoctrinated us as soon as we're born. So it's really deep inside right? And I don't tend to look at people and say, I used to, but I don't get angry and say, oh, this guy's a waste of time, screw him, right?
Yeah.
You know, you can immediately tell who's receptive and who isn't.
Yeah, exactly.
But how can they argue when you show them the experiment in real time, right? They say they believe in math and physics and blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
Okay, here's a math, here's physics. How are you able to see this object? Explain this away. And they can't.
Yeah.
And that's where you get them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They still may walk away and say, I still don't believe it. But you know what? That seed has been planted.
Yeah. But that's all very well when we're dealing with people who are honest and genuine and have intellectual honesty, but when you're dealing with sophists, you know, it's a whole other ball game, and there's a matter of identifying that as well, and how, you know, the sophistry is actually working, because we're seeing it left, right, and centre. You know, they try and explain away anything, you know, direct observations, practicality. They're always trying to formulate and come up with some other explanation to try and explain it away to fit their narrative, you know. So, you know.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
They'll say stupid things like gravitational waves and all this crazy stuff they don't even understand themselves.
Yeah. But I totally agree with you. You know, that's why I've always said that people need to try and be indirect, and you know, formulating a method of bringing people to a realization without actually telling them something is hugely important as well, because people have got an aversion to, you know, if they think you're trying to tell them something, or you know, something that conflicts with their belief, and you're trying to impose it by words, or being too direct, you're going to have an issue with people, you know. So it's really important. Yeah.
That's absolutely 100% true, and I can tell, because only somebody with experience would know that. And so clearly, we can see you've done that. You can't, like I said last time, you can't approach people with this hard-nosed, definitive attitude. Just say, hey, look, here's the math. Explain this phenomenon, right? Explain it away, and they won't be able to do it. They'll say, whatever. I mean, even the news media has tried to sort of. I think some guy from Michigan was able to look across to Chicago or something. They go, "It's a mirage," right? It's like, oh, could you please explain how that's a mirage, please? He gives the scientific experiments that prove that, right? Just, you know, they go, oh, okay, yeah, it makes sense, right? But they don't think critically about it. It's unfortunate. But there are many other experiments that can be done. But like, I love the water, just the simple experiment with water. But having access to like certain lakes like that is just a real mind opener for some people, I think. Because
do you have a channel? Have you got a channel on YouTube? Or?
No, I'm contemplating at this point start going out and recording things and making a channel. You know, because when I see those discussions that you're having with these people, it kind of annoys the hell out of me. Yeah. Right? It's just it's like, I don't want to say it's a waste of time. It's just, you can sort of immediately tell when somebody is like, their worldview is very set in stone. Right?
Yeah, it's biased. Yeah.
And I understand why. Yeah, I mean, I'm compassionate as to why that is. I mean, these people have done an excellent job of indoctrinating us all. They work really hard at it. Yeah. And so, but I think it just, again, like you say, and like even as I have always thought, it comes down to the basics. You know, keep it basic and simple. Yeah. Right? What we can observe, improve is what's important. We don't have to understand everything. No. Right? But if we can observe and prove some very basic facts that prove there's no curvature, right? Yep. It shatters the whole paradigm of everything else. That's it. We don't have to know exactly what's going on with the sun. Hey, I think, like I said last time, it's a disservice if you try to start making like definitive explanations for it. Just prove what you actually can, like the very basic stuff, like the lack of curvature, which I think is very important. Yep. Yep. And that's all I have to say on that. But yeah, I mean, you know, I've never started a YouTube channel before. I think before I even contemplate that, I'm going to have to make sure that I'm well versed in my arguments, because I think that's very important. Yeah.
certainly
to be
is.
prepared.
Yeah, take
But
take responsibility and make sure that you do it a service. You know, that's what everybody has to do, rather than, you know, as I seen from the very off of this, people were jumping in on an emotional reaction and response and clinging to beliefs and assuming things to be true after just realising that they've bought into a load of hogwash. They immediately resort into the exact same thing again, just because something's new and fresh, you know. It's, you know, you see that with some of the maps and model, you know, situation with people, where people jumped on, they start representing these straw men, and it just causes a muddying of the waters, and it perpetuates the struggle, you know.
Yep, I see it even, and I don't even pay attention to the FE, I guess, community, if you want to call it that, because all I see is fighting and COINTELPRO, so I really don't care about any of that stuff.
Exactly.
Just drama, and some of the people are just there, just monetized on YouTube, really, which is kind of sad, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think at some point, probably in 2018, I'm going to start going up. I'm going to put my ass out there and just do my part. You know,
good man.
As difficult as it may be.
Good man.
It has to be done.
You know that you're welcome to come here and share it and let people know that you're there as well, man. So as soon as you do that, or if you've got footage that you want to share with people, by all means, you can use the platform anytime you want.
It will be entertaining because the area I live in, sort of like that East Coast, you know, hard mentality.
Yeah.
Right. Those are the worst people that you have those conversations with.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be pretty interesting. I think a lot of people will have very negative reactions just by simply asking the question.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting.
I don't know what your experience has been. I mean, I've seen some of your videos, but I mean, obviously they're edited. But I don't know, have you ever been attacked? Have people ever?
No. To be honest with you, you know, I've gave it as an honest representation. I really don't edit anything out of the videos. You know, the interactions that I'm having with the people is purely what is displayed. There is no, you know, like interaction or you know, pre-conversation before it. It's just, you know.
Oh no, that's not what I meant. I just meant like if you've gotten to a situation where, let's say, somebody just becomes so emotionally unstable just by the mere mention of saying the earth is flat.
No.
Because I've seen it happen here before.
No, see, to be honest with you, I really haven't. My hand in my heart, I've not experienced that. I don't know if you know. Obviously, there's a buffer with the camera, and people, you know, resort into a more controlled, kind of respectful manner when they know that they're on camera. I think that's a useful tool to people. I mean, even if people want to engage in conversation, you could even say, "Oh, I'm using the camera," even if you don't want to record it. But just the very fact that you have that apparatus, you know, changes people's attitude towards you. You know.
Okay, just like, I mean, this is kind of like questionable. What kind of camera? I mean, anything would work, I guess, right? Even a cell phone.
I mean, a cell phone. That one I have is just a wee Sony handheld camcorder, you know, and it does great. So I think that it's important as well your interaction with people when you're approaching them, your body language and your attitude towards them, and you know that can have a sway in whether or not people will engage with you in the first place, you know. So there's loads of factors to it that people need to consider, you know. But at the same time, if people just get involved in it, they will learn as they go. You know, it's not like you have to arrive as this body of perfection and have these interactions down to a T. You know, people can learn, and it's a good journey for people. It was the same for me. You know, you progress from one interaction to the next. You know.
It's just like, I guess it's more like, you know, hey, let's take a look at this together. Like, isn't this interesting? You know, rather than be like, listen, this is what I believe.
Exactly.
And you need to see this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point about the Socratic method, formulating, you know, questions that are indirect, impersonal, you know, because you know that you want to lead them to a certain realization or, you know, the awareness of a point you're trying to make. And that for me is worked, you know, in every aspect of my life, regardless of what topic it is I'm bringing up, you know.
Yeah. Before I end this conversation, I noticed that when people are approached and you ask them, you know, these earth-shattering questions, right? Like, well, how do you know? Like, they'll immediately just say, like, gravity or whatever it might be, right?
Yeah.
Like, well, do you actually know, like, how this works? They'll even like quotes and statements. It's this effect or that effect. It's like, okay, well, can you explain what that actually is? Even though you may not believe it, right?
Yeah.
And they can't.
No.
And it's interesting because you see that dead look in their eyes, like they have no idea what they're talking about, and they're just regurgitating someone else's information.
Exactly. People are like that, you know, regardless of whether it's the Earth topic. You see that with so many people, even in, you know, social interactions. People are spouting stuff at each other that's regurgitated, that they've heard, that they think's going to make them sound interesting. And as soon as you dig a wee bit below the surface, you realise that people really don't have a grasp on the majority of the things that they're talking about, you know. It seems to be a condition of human beings in this day and age, you know, trying to be windswept and interesting and deep and knowledgeable, you know.
I mean, listen, I was a close to grade A student in high school, and I dropped out in grade 12 because I realized that they weren't teaching me anything. The internet was beginning to just start up in 1998, right?
Yeah.
And that was the year for me to graduate, right? And I was like, there's nothing to learn here. I was learning more on the internet than I was in high school, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of it was contradictory. So I just said, screw this. I don't need this crap. What's it for?
Exactly.
And it's never had any effect on me as far as, you know, job or career wise. But so I think there's a lot of good advice that you've lent out here, and I'm gonna have to figure something out. But it's not. But I think the first thing to do is just forget about even the cameras. Like I think people just want to try out. Just go out there and just engage. You need practice. I think people need practice. Like you said, body language, how you talk to people is very important. How you're going to engage in a conversation with the individual.
And the practice for people.
I just wish people would do more rather than just talk to one another. Like, okay, so we both believe in FE or whatever, right? That's great. Now what? Are we going to sit here and just talk with each other and do nothing but like? It's more important, like to get it. And I know some people can't do that because they have obligations, work, children, you name it, right?
Yeah.
But those that do on their free time should at least make a concerted effort, right? Because any movement for that, whether it be like exposing our corrupt, governments and how they're just puppets and all that stuff, right? I mean, it's like people love just to talk with one another, but they don't want to actually engage in conversations with people that are completely asleep.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's what's really important. Is the physical interaction. Internet, I find, is kind of difficult because people tend to behave very poorly on the internet because there's not that social, physical interaction.
No,
right?
Exactly.
Right?
That's it. And I think
they're snobs.
Yeah, and I think that experience of how people behave on the internet's affecting people. Getting out there and interacting with people in a physical sense, because they're swayed by these interactions that they have on the internet, and then they project that into everyday lived life and think that's what's going to happen. And that was one of my whole points, was to keep pushing that. Look, I kind of had no anxiety, but concerns that that's what it was going to be like, until I went out and started to have the interactions with people, and that fear, if you like, dissipated very quickly when I realised, people are willing to engage, they're willing to have conversations. And I have spoken to people from all walks of life, through the different classes of people, if you want to, look at it like that. And every single one of them has been open and willing to have a conversation, So people need to, as you say, get out there into the real world and not take it from online, because it's going to skew your perception of actual reality,
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. That was a brilliant move on your part when you put that little, sort of diffuse, I think, football match. I don't want to call it soccer because it actually is football.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous that you can call it soccer, but here in North America. But I like how you put that little alien-looking thing with the little diagrams, because that was a really great tactic, because it I guess it sort of softens people. They come up, they're curious, and then you can engage in that conversation. That's a really brilliant idea, I thought.
Yeah, it's a great buffer, and again, it takes it away from that, direct, like it's you telling them something, that they've got something neutral there that's impersonal, and then you can engage in, you know, what do you think of the information, and it's, you know, then you can get a better reaction from people. So I highly recommend using some sort of prop as well, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time, Dale.
Nice one,
Thank you
bud.
so much.
Cheers.
Take it easy.
Take it easy, buddy. Just get some messages here I'm going to read out while I'm at it. Hi Dale, the con man, Professor Brian Cox, has a UK tour planned in 2019. So I'm just putting the idea out for people to pick at his gigs with flyers and info on why Earth ain't a globe. Check out his website. He's playing Glasgow as well, Mr. Cheswick, YouTube. Cheers, man. Yeah, check that out. I know, you know, I see that like 2019 and I'm like, oh no, I want things to be moving way beyond that before 2019. But if we're still in some sort of predicament like this by then of course, by all means, I'll be taking part in that as well. Hey Dale, just wanted to say thank you for being honest and open. You have an amazing platform. I know you sometimes must feel like you're battering your head off the wall sometimes, but you do make a difference and you do open minds. For every nugget you have to deal with, there's someone you've had a positive impact on. Much love, bro. Sean from Glasgow. Cheers, Sean. It's much appreciated. And it's exactly messages like that fuels us to keep pushing forward and to keep going with it when we get feedback like that. So it's much appreciated, man. You know, and that far outweighs the bullshit that you have to put up with. You know, if I've affected one person's life and made a difference and offered them something, then, you know, for me, that's good enough. But to get the amount of messages that we get, you know, saying these types of things is fantastic. So again, it's much appreciated, Sean. Hi Del, Call here. I meant to ask you when I saw you why you think the North Polar region is where the exploration is needed. Peace out, Colin. Well, if I get into a kind of conspiratorial mindset and look at this whole debacle, you know, there's been a lot of attention placed on Antarctica, and that's where the focus should be, and the ice ring and all this stuff, and not a lot of people are focusing on what's in that kind of central region. You know, around about Greenland and, you know, all these kind of isolated areas that are not accessible unless, you know, the water's frozen. You know, it just seems to me that there's a push in that direction. It's about Antarctica, and Antarctica is the mysterious place, and we're leaving certain aspects of it out. So for me, in a kind of conspiratorial mindset, you know, I would think, well, why is that? You know, I'm always looking to go against the grain and what people are pushing and saying, and I want to question everything. So, I mean, and again, you look at the misrepresentation of landmass sizes like Greenland and stuff. And also things like, you know, it was Marty that was saying to me a while ago about areas like Tiktaalik, and he was watching a thing called Ice Road Truckers, and there was a lot of going back and forward with trucks, and they're bringing things like contaminated soil back. Well, you know, this is the explanation that they're given. And then I started to look around about that area, and you know, how the construct and where the houses are set up, and they're right down on the shore, right at the water's edge. And for that to be there, that it must be a really settled environment. You know, they're not getting loads of wild weather with like being flooded and swells coming in and out. So it is a kind of settled environment there. I mean, again, it's open for investigation for everybody, but I just think that we can't just get tied into this Antarctica, because, you know, I don't accept that. For me, everything has to be looked at. In any of these isolated areas that are restricted, then we should be looking to explore a lot of them, not just one specific area. So that's pretty much it, Colin. There we go. How's people doing in the chat here? What are we saying yet?
I got a request from Dave Blackson, who was in on Saturday, though, who's wanted to pop in for a minute.
Aye, well, if it's not for long, then cool.
In fairness, the request has been sat there for a while, Diggs. He may well have left by now. I'm not sure.
Cool. Right, who do we have here? Magumba, how you doing? West Coast Wisdom, how are you? Gary Lee, Stuart McKenzie, Preston Vaughan, Antonio Subarats, Stephen Parker, Brandon Cook, Sam Addy, Twitmer, Mr. Drobot. Observe the 24-hour sun in the northern region. While it is in the Tropic of Capricorn, it travels in a circular motion. Well, you know, I asked family members who, you know, lived in Sweden and still have property in Sweden and still have family there. And I asked them about the 24-hour sun, and they have went and camped and witnessed it. So, you know, they have absolutely no reason to lie to me about that. So, J-Lo, how you doing? Bliss Sleuth Speaker, One Man and His Detector, how you doing? Luke Marshall, Boukstrauss, Sheeps and Neeps, how you doing, man? Hope you made it up the road all right. Obviously you did. Heavy Metal Ruined My Life, how you doing? I am the 202. Give me a shout out to My Perspective new channel. I think we've done that. It was good that you reminded me of that, actually, Marshall. For people who missed it, My Perspective, who put out great content, is back on YouTube again, producing some content, so it's worth people checking out and subscribing. Always have something relevant and good to offer people. Danny Blue, Master Bev, Stephen Watson, Tierra Plana Medellin. How are you? Sean McDonald, how you doing? Level Headed. Oh shit. Cool Hand Puke to you, Martin Connolly. Cheers, Marlon Wisby. One Man, he's a Globe Thrusters. James Forbes, if you're listening to this, I went in and found your account and unblocked it, so you will be free to post in the chat. Stuart McKenzie, cheers. Dave Hinkle. Jack Loren, Finding the Curve, how you doing? Nicholas Brown. Dale's right, we should go to the North Pole. Well, that's why, you know, I keep shouting that all the time. We need, you know, the sooner people get this, the better. We are in a situation of captivity. There is huge efforts in regards to psychological manipulation and physical constraint. So for me, you know, for that motive to be there, there has to be significance in why, you know, what are they hiding? What is there out there for us to discover? And if anybody doubts, you know, people think, oh, conspiracies, mind control and all this fucking stuff. Well, it's not like, you know, some of the Hollywood way that it's made out. You know, there's a British guy called Derren Brown. Derren Brown, you know, shows you exactly how some of this manipulation works. And if you think that this guy's an entertainer and he's being allowed to display it, although he's not allowed to get into the actual deep methods of how he achieves what he does, but he's shown you it, and he's shown you how effective it can be. Now, for anybody to think that that's not going to be put into military application, you know, or be a useful tool to manipulative, you know, dictators, you need to give yourself a fucking shake. It's not a conspiracy idea. Human beings are fallible and they are, you know, open to suggestiveness and manipulation and sway. I mean, look at us, for fuck's sake. All it took was to put a fucking wee plastic ball in a classroom and, you know, to have a browbeating authority stand over you and to repeat it over a number of times. And before you know it, you forget about it and it just becomes a baseline assumption that you're not even in touch with anymore. And that is then ruling how you think. You know, same as everything else, these ideas that are implanted into you, they're ruling you. They're affecting how you behave and how you think, even if you're not in touch with them. So people really need to go in and pull out a lot of these base assumptions that they have. You know, no, as I said at the beginning of this, not just about the world you're living in regards to who you think you are, what you think a relationship is, what you think an interaction with somebody is. There's loads of these things for me that need to be ironed out, you know. Loads of, you know, it's a topic, a discussion there that is quite extensive that I'm not going to be able to squeeze into the next, you know, half an hour or however long we're going to be here, but I'm sure we'll get on to it. Welsh warrior, Derek Brown is a alien. Well, he's just a guy that figured out, how to fucking manipulate people. Probably because he had the honest ability to go into himself and understand his own workings. And once you do that, you can then recognise in other people, and then you can play upon it, which is exactly what people do. Charlatans are ready to pounce on people's ignorance left, right, and centre. Squirrel Sniper, Knowledge Scavenger, Tony Dixon, how you doing? James Forbes, there you go, you're in. Just for a phone call and unblocking said to the firemen on Sunday. Nice one. Well, they're using liquid water every day, so it'll be pretty easy for them to grasp that. And that's a good idea, actually. I might go to some fire stations and see if I can get a couple of interviews. Witty Woo, Rune Thorson, Paul X, John Watson, Asney Scoot. What's that? Asney Scootnew. He's exposed many fools, he certainly has. Chris Hayes. Cheers, Chris. Adrian Mitchell, Indio 007. If a large conspiracies can't be hidden, then there has never been one in human history. Exactly. Flat Accord Music, I hate being trapped. So do I hate being lied to. There's nothing worse than being lied to. Chaos is fine in my book. It's confusion that's a problem. And lies and deceit is what causes that confusion. It's what makes people insecure. If people are totally transparent and open, then there is no reason for any insecurity. It's just that we've been sold this world of bullshit, and people are split up in their own mind. They are trying to fit into little boxes that have been offered to them, and it's just a shit show. Cool, Marshall.
Just wanted to chime in there, Dale, and confirm what you're saying. That the two things about dismantling your beliefs, and understanding how your mind works is absolutely key. People need to look at that, and also the active inquiry into seeing the contradictions. I was thinking about one just today, just per chance. We're told that ships go over the curvature of the Earth, right? And depending on what definition of horizon you want to take, that could be 7 miles out, 10 miles out, 11 miles out, whatever, right? And there's a drop of so and so many thousand feet, right? But if you were to look at an aeroplane that goes above you, and it's going at 600 miles an hour, and it takes 10 minutes to go beyond the horizon, then it's dropped 35,000 feet, right? But the ship's only dropped 1,000 feet or 2,000, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So you can see a massive contradiction there already, where they try to deny that perspective plays a role in what's going on. Yeah. And it's contradictions like that people need to just go out, look at the world with their own observations and actually think about it, and not be scared to think about it, or as you've said, browbeaten into not believing your own common sense or your own, ability to think. Yeah. Even if it's been trained out you for too long, people just need to have that confidence back. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's definitely one of the things that I hope this platform brings to people. The confidence to go out and think for themselves. So
hopefully, mate, and that's a great point that you make. Just as you say that, this nonsense about the ships and stuff. Well, if people even look at that rationally and think about it, if they're saying that that's what's happening, as you rise above, you should be looking down at an ever increasing curve going away from you. If you can see a boat at 12 miles and you start to go up, that curvature should never be rising up, ever. If it's starting to sink there at the level that you're at on the ground, then as you rise up, you should be ever looking down further and further and further. Never, straight out in front of you. It shouldn't be happening.
No, it
So-
can't happen on a ball. You know, it's impossible. You know, perspective, the way perspective work it's only possible in a flat plane. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But-
That's what I tried to show with, you know, 1, 2, and 3 point perspective drawn as well. You know, how we've got these underlying, you know, knowings, and this is how we operate, and this is how we construct and we build and we formulate art and an understanding of perspective and what we're seeing in the world round about us. It's based in these things. Again, the practicality, no a theory, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it in lived life. You know, that's the thing. If you're driving on a car and you're looking at the white line in the middle of the road, right?
Yeah.
And you know, you look down at it of the white line close to you, and you can see its length, right, as it goes, you know, outwards away from you. And if you look in the distance and you see that that line is, you know, a lot smaller and crunched up, right? And at some point, those white lines disappear from your view, right? You know, that all has to do with, you know, the angle, you know, at which your eye can see an outward going interval, right?
Yeah.
And if that's too small, then the front of the white line and the back of the white line are no longer differentiable from each other, right? So they smudge into basically one, you know, point. And that also means that anything in that space between the front and the back of the white line is also invisible, right? I mean, that's why things disappear. It's not because, you know, they're going behind any fucking curve, right?
No.
So, you know, I mean, even, you know, I know that might sound a little bit, you know, complicated, my explanation, but it's simple, really.
There's great observations out there, and I keep meaning to get round to it. This channel, BLMSP69, has done great observational work in regards to that, and showing through the year and different times and temperatures and conditions how you can see further depending on what the atmospheric conditions are. And also Nick, again, for MD who doesn't know, Phuket Word, has just done another video on, you know, that exactly what we're discussing. That's worth people checking out. You know, it's another great example. So I'm going to get round to it. Maybe, you know, next week through the week, I'll bring up this BLMSB's channel and show some of the great observations for exactly what we've just been discussing. So maybe we can talk about that and formulate some sort of wee presentation for next week in regards to that. Because there is no real scientific discussion about what goes on at this. It's just this assumed, oh, it's things going over a curve. There is no actual scientific inquiry into what's actually happening at these points of compression, atmospheric conditions, and what we're actually seeing. It's just, you know, beliefs and assumptions that's what's going on, and it's not what's going on, because, as we will point out, there's contradictions from different times of observation, you know.
Absolutely. As many people have pointed out, you know, there's a lot of things that play a role in what you can see and when you can't see it. You know, I'll just refer to a stick in water, right? You know, it appears bent because, you know, it's in two different mediums, right? You've got the stick in the air, you've got the stick in the water, and the way light behaves, right? So, you know that the stick hasn't fucking bent. It hasn't moved its position either, right? In a tangible, substantial way, right? It's only a visual effect, right? So, you know, you can see these things, you know, every single day. It's just that when you try to, you know, apply them, or when they bring the sophistry along, then they manage to confuse you. But if you take it right back to these facts of lived life, you know, that's what everybody should be sticking to, because that is everybody's experience, right?
Yeah.
That is our common sense. That is common knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Universally accepted by everybody. So that's what needs to be based on, yeah.
And the sophistry is not just about the language that they're using, it's their demeanour, it's their, you know, their body language, all these things that are useful in order to affect people, to bring them into a subservient, you know, powerless state of mind. There's aspects of sophistry that I think we'll need to touch on at a later date as well, rather than just the words that they're using and the language. It's everything about them, how they present it, how they, you know, approach people, you know, and put it to them. So
absolutely, people cower in a kind of sense of deference, right, to somebody who has a better command of logic, rhetoric, and grammar, you know.
Well, I supposed better.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, that stuff doesn't count a bit, right? Because, you know, we're all the same, right? You know, and we all have the same, you know, sentient being and a heartbeat. So, you know, in that respect, that's the basis. You know, it's not how good somebody can present themselves, talk, or showmanship, right? You know, that's not what knowledge is, right?
No.
Just because you can sell the bullshit better doesn't mean it's true, you know.
Well, that's what makes a good salesman. If you get the fucking, you know, the attitude and the you know, the charisma, then you're going to be a better fucking salesman. You know, it doesn't matter about the quality of the product. It's just about getting it to people. So
Yep, it's in the delivery. It's the way you tell them.
exactly.
All the way Darren Brown does it. Give me your keys. You were going that way, you know.
Exactly.
Anyway, I'll let somebody else come on.
Aye. We've got In Plain Sight. How you doing? And David Blackson.
Hi, Dale.
Oh yeah.
How you doing, man?
Not bad, mate. You?
Yeah, fine.
Oh,
fine.
it's yourself. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, it's been a while. Sorry, I missed you a couple of times, man. How you doing?
Ah, good, man. Good. How are you?
Yeah, I just got. I'm all right, man. Great, actually. I had some great conversations today, and seeing more people joining the live chats as well, coming on, is very encouraging. You know, I think more people get to this point now where they're a bit tired of the narrative they're being fed all day long. Start looking for new avenues. So that's good signs, good omen.
Aye. Excellent. Sorry, I'm just going to turn you up a wee bit here, Matt. Don't know if that's any better. Are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me better?
That's a wee bit better. You were just a bit quiet there. I just tried to turn you up a bit.
I'm tired, man. I had a long day. Maybe
Aye.
I can try and. I lost my voice over the weekend as well with the cold, so I'm going to do my best. Yeah, I wanted to bring up a few things. Let me try and remember. Oh yeah, well, every time Gav's on, he mentioned this, and I really want to add to this. He's talking about common sense a lot, and I agree. You know, through most of my education, I remember in class when every time I heard something was a bit off, and I was asked to explain why, my answer quite often was common sense. It just looked like it was self-evident very often.
Yeah.
And when I started studying sociology, they drilled into our heads over the first 2 years that common sense is not what we think it is. And it's the way they teach it to us was it's anecdotal. Secondhand knowledge, something you heard in the pub. You know, take it for granted knowledge.
Yeah.
It's common sense. It's using your senses that are common to everyone.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Direct experience.
Yeah, but they're trying to play with the wording so that you completely discard these words common sense that you associated to something your whole life, and then all of a sudden, because you're gonna go and study society, and maybe you're gonna find a few stuff, they want to make sure they get rid of your common sense right away, and they teach you that it's a bad thing, that you should discard common sense because it's not based on empirical evidence according to them, which you can test your eyes, you can test your hearing, you can test your voice, as far as I know.
Exactly. As like, Gavin, many other people have pointed out, without that, you'd be getting hit by traffic left, right and centre. You wouldn't be getting dressed in the morning. You'd probably drown in the bath if you even managed to fill the bath. I mean,
I know, it's crazy. And something else, we had this conversation a few times about, not knowing whether we're meant to be here. Maybe we're born in captivity. Or, and just by walking in the streets, I can't get this thought out of my mind just looking at the buildings all around us. There's this guy, Jeremy Bentham. He was a guy working in the penitentiary. He came up with like a revolutionary prison back in the day. I think he was in like 1700. You can just Google it, I suppose, and get the exact date for anyone getting enraged at me right now. But Jeremy Bentham, he came up with this thing called the panopticon. And it was a prison where every inmate could be seen by one guard without knowing it. And it was a fantastic way to control behavior. And I think they stopped using it for prison system, but I start seeing it in the streets everywhere. And just by knowing that you can be seen without seeing, the person observing, you naturally just regulate your behavior, because you're being observed somehow. And CCTV is probably the modern version of that,
Yeah.
Another way to, for people who denied, mind control and this type of things, it's there's a lot of nuances to how you can affect people's behavior on a large scale. And, you know, as you mentioned, magicians do this for entertainment. Thinking that the most powerful people in the world would not use that for their own advantage is a little bit crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, people think that the military and it's not going to be a useful tool to any of these people, then, I mean, come on, people, this is what it's about. It's about, you know, making sure they have your attention and focus on the things that they want to achieve and see in the world, you know. That's what the whole game is. It's about directing your will and your attention, you know, and it's happening everywhere, every minute, every day, you know.
Absolutely. I need to run. You have got somebody at the door there. If you want to have your other guest on.
Aye, no problems, man. Cheers, man.
Come back in 10 minutes. No problem. Cheers.
Cool. David, how are you? David Blackson, you need to unmute yourself, man.
There we go. I just wanted to get in behind this guy. You know, cars have only been around 100 years. TVs, 50 years. You know, people think this technology, you know, they went to space just 70 years after the automobile was invented. So, I mean, you got to kind of look at perspective and go back and look at time. And we're just in a different place now where with all the information that we have around us, even what we learned in school was just like a diving board into other things, like, you know, because I lived through the 80s. I'm not that old. I'm 52 now. But, you know, I remember when hair dryers, you didn't even have handheld hair dryers. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that people don't realize just in this short amount of time.
Yeah.
Has just come. It's like me talking to a guy in Scotland on a broadcast in the middle of a rainy afternoon in Dallas, Texas. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But, you know, we have free speech over here. I'm glad to see that you do too. And, you know, the big question here is, how do you prove the earth is flat 100%? I mean, that's what the bottom line is, what we're all sitting here wanting to talk about. And we just need to do it. I mean, I don't know what the one sentence thing is to get it done, but, you know, like there's a beach in Brazil. It's 150 miles long. I mean, we know it's not a ball. So we just, I don't know what we got to do here, but I just want to call in and
well, we need,
throw a shout out to you.
We need exactly, I think, as I keep suggesting, we need the numbers up and we need as many minds aware of this and on task as possible. That way, with the increasing numbers, you get people bringing things that none of us have thought of so far, or, you know, observed so far. There's many people out there who would have great contributions to this. So I think for me, you know, the priority is to get it to the majority of people, regardless of what anybody wants to believe. We keep it as an impersonal thing, and it's about objective reality. It's for science, and we have transparency with that. We have openness, and the whole of science should be open to question. I think just through that kind of focus, then it's going to naturally unfold, as long as that people are discerning and aware that we're not falling into another trap of manipulation and lies, you know.
The problem is that we know that, you know, it's just like all these channels that I started listening to Earth Discussions when they first cranked up. And there was a guy out there, and he come on there, and he said he was from the Office of Information Awareness. These were people from the CIA, FBI, this kind of stuff. And now they're running flat Earth shows 24 hours a day. And people don't realize, I mean, it's crazy. We got free speech, and I don't think they care that we're talking about it. But you got to admit that it's funny that we have actual people from the government doing flat Earth shows all day long.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. But, you know, they got the Flat Earth Conference coming up. We're waking a lot of people up, but you know, I don't see what they're scared of. It's not anything. People are going to realize it. I mean, these kids nowadays, they're going to figure it out here pretty quick. You know, I'm 50 years. It took me this long to figure it out. So you know how it is.
Yeah. Well, there's different opportunities for the kids these days. As you say, they have access to the internet and, you know, information galore. So, you know, it's only a matter of time before it becomes obvious. So we'll just need to see how it goes. I mean, regardless, I really don't care what it is. I don't have any invested wish for the Earth to be anything other than what it is. I just want to experience and know it for what it is, you know. So,
but the thing, I got to say one thing. How do we prove the Earth is flat 100%? That's what that's the question.
I think the most important thing, David, is how do you show people that what they believe is true is false?
Right.
That for me is the first thing. You know, regardless of what it is, the burden's not on any of us. We were born into this, and we assumed that what we were told was true. And if we are falsifying that, that is the most important thing, surely. I don't have to have something to replace it, you know. And I have to point that out to people that that's their own fallacy. If they think that there should be something to replace it, or that I should have something to offer them, and really, but that's not realistic. The reality of the situation is that none of us know, and we are all clutching at straws, trying to, figure out what it is. So, the point is, it's not like, this is the whole point when you use this term flat Earth. People automatically resort to this. Well, you have a full working model and you know everything about it because they've been sold that idea from the globe. That it's all figured out and blah, blah, blah. So if you're falsifying that, they automatically assume you should have something to replace it with, when we don't, and nobody does, So that's where the confusion is with people. They associate flat Earth with a certain image in their mind and think that, that's what you should answer to.
I hear you. Maybe it'll change. We'll just have to wait and see. Maybe 2020 will be the year. Hindsight's 2020. So we'll see if somebody figures it out. There's got to. I think that there's an easy answer to this, but we're all overlooking it. Maybe we'll figure it out. But I appreciate being on.
I would say that there is an easy answer, and I would say that my measuring tool's water, and that proves beyond any shadow of doubt that it's a level Earth.
I agree with you.
So,
absolutely.
Take it easy, Dale.
Take it easy, David. Cheers.
Hey, Dale, I'd just like to bring in a couple of quotes from Thomas Reid.
Cool.
About common sense and its role in reasoning. Yeah. So bear with me because I think it's quite relevant, right? So he says, we ascribe to reason 2 offices or 2 degrees. The first is to judge of things self-evident. The second, to draw conclusions that are not self-evident from those that are. The first of these is the province and the sole province of common sense, and therefore it coincides with reason in its whole extent. Yeah.
Excellent.
Another one. The truths that fall within the compass of human knowledge, whether they be self-evident or deduced from those that are self-evident, may be reduced to 2 classes. They are either necessary and immutable truths, whose contrary is impossible, or they are contingent and mutable, depending upon some effect of will and power, which had a beginning and may have an end. I think that's a very astute man, yeah?
Certainly was.
I mean, he's saying the kind of same thing twice, but the one I really like, and the one I'll finish with, all knowledge and all science must be built upon principles that are self-evident, and of such principles every man who has common sense is a competent judge when he conceives them distinctly. By that he means if you don't have some kind of impairment, right?
Yeah.
Hence it is that disputes often terminate in an appeal to common sense. Now, if you think about that last sentence, how often do you have a conversation or an argument with somebody and it ends up with a statement like, oh, for fuck's sake, man, get a grip, right? It's fucking obvious, right? I don't need to explain it to you. I can't explain it to you. There's no point in you contradicting it, right? Yeah. It's the way it is, yeah?
Yeah.
And, we do that all the time. So you can see how that's part of, how we get along and live life,
Yeah.
It's not to be contested, right?
No.
You appeal to common sense when 2 people talk shite, right? Or one of them talks shite,
It's exactly that.
Back to don't talk that fucking bullcrap, right?
It's a great point of that is earlier on. Me saying, well, water's level, the surface is always horizontal. From one point to the other, it's the same elevation. How do you know that? Have you measured it? I mean, how can it's fucking self-evident. It's fucking common. I mean, it's like, just as you say, you won't get a fucking grip. You know?
Actually, get a fucking grip. Huh?
It's not that I'm asking you to believe in fairy tales. It's a fucking go and look yourself, you know.
That's what I mean. Every dispute, you know, which everybody has, you know, during a day even, right, often ends in an appeal to common sense, to people saying, you know, stop talking fucking shite, and, you know, what can we agree on? Aye, right, that one, right. So you're fucking stupid, you know, you're wrong. You know?
Exactly.
If we do it there every day of our life, we can't just ignore it when academia or science tries to tell us a whole lot of bullshit, right? Which is the same problem, but, you know, in a massive fucking scale that people don't seem to realize, right? And don't seem to understand the fucking predicament they're in.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
anyway, it's so laughable sometimes. I gotta laugh. Sorry.
And is the quotes coming from that book that you brought me? Aye.
Now you still haven't read it.
Still,
You're fucking really good at that reading, eh?
when I get in my bed, mate, the last thing I want to do is be reading. I'm sleeping within 5 fucking minutes, you know.
No, I'm the same. I know what you mean.
It's difficult to get the time, but the more
That's
the
why I
more
thought I'd quote you 3 of them.
now I'm going to be straight in and picking it up, because you know the more you hear these things. So, all right, bet.
The other.
Cool, mate.
You doing, man?
I must have sound issues.
No, I'm here, guys.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure you were talking to me. Yeah, I'm back. Sorry. Thanks for the quote, Gav. They're great, and reminds us that we're sane, I guess.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with us.
The second one reminds me of something I've read a long time ago. It was a debate between Cantor, one of the first mathematicians. You might know this guy.
Yeah, sure. Set theory. Yeah.
And a priest or some kind of religious figure. And they were arguing about the notion of God. And it was a quite long-winded debate. I think they shared this dialogue most of their life, as far as I know. It might even have kind of continued for a couple hundred years after that, where basically the mathematician came to the conclusion, not really agreeing with the priest, but it was that a creator or a god or some kind of superior figure like this was either necessary or inevitable.
Yep.
Using their own tools, you know, both. They kind of reach a similar conclusion, not like completely one-sided, but, you know, both eventualities seem to be
well, I think mathematicians can probably see that, you know, if they can say or claim that their mathematics can describe the whole of the natural world, right? And they also know that their mathematics started from a bunch of definitions created by a mind, a man, right, or a woman, yeah? Then they also have to, you know, conceive of the possibility of a creation, right? So mathematicians in that respect are probably close to that religious stance, right? Coming from a slightly different direction, you know.
Again, even just to appeal to common sense in regards to that question, you know, do we witness things appearing from nowhere? Information, complexity. I mean, no. I mean, where do these things emanate from a mind? Okay, so is it fair to assume then that this was intended through conscious mind? I mean, it's not really that much of a stretch, is it?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I want to fucking speak to him, as you said many a time, you know. I want to know what's fucking going on if he's out there.
Not just a him, it might be a dame. I want to speak to the lot of them.
A lot of them, aye. And if they don't come, they can go and fuck themselves. Yeah? In the meantime, we'll just get on with finding out where the fuck we are. Yeah.
Exactly.
Listen, guys, I'm going to knock it on the head. Dale, it's been great chatting.
Cheers, Gav.
Thanks to everybody in the chat, the mods, Marshall.
Thanks, Gav.
And all the guests. Yeah. See you all soon.
Take it easy, bud. Cheers,
Yeah.
man. Cheers.
How was the globe burning thingy?
Yeah, it was good. Good laugh. It was good to see people getting together.
Well attended?
Sorry, mate?
Was it well attended?
Yeah, mate, yeah. Good few people, about 15 people, I think, or something like that. It was good. It's good. It's good to see the effort people went to, you know, with some of the globes, some artistic endeavours there, you know. So,
here we go.
good.
That's a good way to channel your creativity, I guess.
That's it. A globe burning ritual. Yeah.
Well, I mean, any type of their symbols, you know. This is obviously the pinnacle, the globe. It's the cornerstone.
Yeah.
This is the foundation we've built a fucking world on these days. And, you know, if you build a house, the foundation's not stable, it's going to crumble. So it's a matter of time, really, isn't it?
That's it, mate. Exactly it.
Why? Let's keep it up. Keep talking to people around you and asking questions. People will find the answers, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely. It'd be good to have you back on, Ben. We can talk a bit more about the you know, this kind of prison type setting, and you know, you know, you were talking earlier on about that. You brought it up, and I keep going back to the different races of people and how that could possibly have came about. You know, which suggests to me that, you know, that there's a possibility that the different races are from different areas. You know, and we're somehow here in this one area together. But I don't think I've got the energy to go into it tonight, mate. I was just.
I know you've been on for a while, obviously. I'm not going to push you. I just wanted to pop in and say hi because I was meant to come and see you, and I kind of missed you a few times. And yeah, I was a bit skint as well, to be fair.
I know how it is, mate. I know how it is.
I feel for you, man. You must be freezing in that shack of yours because it's really getting cold now.
No, well, I've got the heater, but I've got very nice couple who have made me a wood burner. So they sent me images of that earlier on. So I'm really looking forward to that, and highly appreciative that they went to that effort to you know, give me that. So I'm looking forward to it. So once that's installed, no, I'll be in here with my fucking swimming trunks on, mate. You know, and the
Yeah,
fucking.
good, I'll give you an incentive to go because I'm fucking way too cold over there, I have to say. All right, well, thanks for having me on. Cheers to everybody, and I'll see you soon.
Catch up with you soon, bud. Cheers, mate.
See you.
Right, been a pleasure, people. I'll just come to the chat for a wee quick couple of minutes and shout you out. I seen a Dan W shout me out before it jumped, so I shouted it. There you go. Tube, you changed your name, Tube, Ute. So no, YouTube or something, I don't know.
He's had his channel taken down, though. He's had to rename.
Ah, right. Why was that, do you know?
I'm not sure.
Midnight Gardener, Baron Bronskevich, Chelsea Deluxe, Flat Earth Underground, how you doing? Stuart McKenzie, Rock Vibrations, how are you? It's got a heater that get the full shed experience, lol. If you pay 15 quid, you can come and spend 2 hours in the shed. It's well worth it. You get 2 cups of coffee, honey, the lot. Cheers, Mr. Drobot. Come, teeth face, your patter's mince. Get some decent patter for fuck's sake. Twitwit, cheers, night. Darren Jonah Jones, Captain Kirk, Wake the Sheeple, how you doing? Papa P, Rebecca's Way, nice to see you there. Cheers again for the wee vid of the globe burning. There was other people as well. Is it Bolt Hole Road? Had a couple of good globe burning videos that I hadn't seen until I'd put mine up, so it was a pity I could have added them into it.
I think it's Bullet Hole Road.
Bullet Hole Road, sorry. Bullet Hole Road. People should check that channel out as well. Bullet Hole Road. Certainly does rock. Right, everybody, cheers. Take it easy. I'll see you on Saturday. Be open platform again as usual. Take care. Thanks, Marshall. Wagumba, Jonah Worms, always appreciated. Everybody that came on, people that phoned. Take it easy. See you on Saturday. Peace.